I'm Phaedra.
And I'm Sophie.
And this is My Best View.
Phaedra, what was your best view this week?
My best view this week was some friends of my parents that came to visit town. I hadn't seen them in like years.
Can I say, the way I get actually jealous when you even mention having other people over, I'm like,
it should be me. You know, Sophie, we always wish it was you. Don't worry. I hadn't seen them in so long, so it was so nice to see them as well. Their names are Emily and Patrick, and they have a little baby, which was really fun because, you know, I live in New York. I don't know anyone who has a baby.
Yeah.
So it was just so nice to like hang out with a little baby. And personally, I really do like children, so it was extra fun for me. And I have to say something so humbling is very kindly they let me hold the baby. And the way I was, like the first day that they got there, I held that baby for like, I don't know, 25 minutes. But like, you know, I'm scared of babies because I'm the youngest, so I don't know what to do with them. I'm so scared I'm going to hurt them. Or like, what if they start crying? I don't know. Does it die immediately? I don't know what it means. So when I'm with a baby, the only thing I'm trying to do is like, I won't, if it fusses even a little bit, I'm like, what does it mean? What do I do? So anyway. So the only way I could make it not fuss at all, the only way I could make him not fuss at all was to be like holding and like bouncing and also standing and walking around and being like, look out the window, let's look in the mirror, all this stuff, which was very fun. But it immediately showed me how deeply out of shape I have become because that baby was like a little bit over 20 pounds, which was, he's a big baby, I have to say. But the next morning, I'm not kidding, my entire body was in pain as if I had gone to a genuine like boot camp workout class.
I believe it. Yeah, I and it's not even to do with your level of fitness. I just do feel like babies are stressful, like physically, mentally, spiritually, as much as I love them.
No, I know. The way it didn't even give me baby fever because I was like, I need to work out first. Like this is so, If anything, it showed me how deeply not ready I am for children because I was like, I literally had to go recover for 3 days physically and mentally and spiritually.
And then the thought of Jessica being my age and having 3 of them already.
No, truly. A lot of these people reproducing, it put it in a whole new light for me because I was like, did you guys like hang out with a baby first? I think you should try that because it's actually like a lot of work apparently. It was so fun to hang out with a baby, but I was humbled.
We were always learning.
And Sophie, what was your best view this week?
My best view is actually how do I describe this? A secondhand view. It's something that I always took for granted and then you really liked it. So seeing it through your eyes, I was like, that is amazing. And it's the fact that in every German supermarket, they sell bouquets of pasta.
I love these.
And they're just like right by the flower bouquets. And they're like, I don't know how to describe it. It literally looks like it's gonna be a flower bouquet. But then instead of flowers, it's just like multiple bags of pasta, like tied together in a circular formation.
German creativity is always so whimsical and lovely.
And I'm just always forgetting that because like I just take things for granted as like, oh yeah, that's just like the pasta bouquets. And I'm like, no, what do you mean it's a pasta bouquet?
People in New York would eat that shit up. I mean, literally, but they would love that so much. That would be
new business. No, because literally I'm always thinking about this. Like, I don't know if I've explicitly said this to our viewers, but I am currently living in my late grandmother-in-law's home. And like while I'm here, I'm also like going through her stuff, like with family's blessing, like starting to sell stuff. And there's so much stuff where I'm like, nobody in Germany wants this shit, but like, if I brought this to New York, there'd be a feeding frenzy.
Absolutely.
What do you mean a hand-painted music box that's covered in cats that plays memories from cats and comes with a certificate of authenticity?
The most important part.
I'm always discovering new things where I'm like, it's just lost on the Germans. They have all this fun, innovative stuff.
They're too used to it.
Did you see the nut whale that I sent you a picture of?
I did, but hearing you say nut whale is really sounding like something completely different and so nefarious.
It's like sperm whale.
That's not better. It's not a nut whale, it's a sperm whale. It's totally different.
His item that we just found just looked like a glass fish with a big mouth. It turns out it's like a thing from the 60s every German had. You put nuts in it and then you pour nuts out of the whale's mouth into your hand.
Does it deshell them or something?
No, it's just a dispenser.
So basically what a bowl would do?
So yes. In a sense, except that it whimsically trickles and it's just a few at a time. So it's like, kind of delicate, like, oh, just a few peanuts for me.
See, that's why we couldn't have that in America. Is an American would be like, what do you mean 3 nuts at a
People
time?
would be unscrewing the whale's head.
This is anti-American. They'd be smashing it with a hammer.
But that was something where I'm like, if I went to New York and I said, look at this item, it's a vintage nut whale from the 60s. Like, people would be wanting that item.
At least me.
I'm so excited. This week we have a very special episode. I mean, this episode, first of all, wraps the first season, which is really thrilling.
Mm-hmm. This is the tell-all, aka reunion.
And this is a 2-part episode, so it's 3 hours of content total that we're condensing into one episode. Let's see how we do, because famously our recordings are twice as long as the length of the episode.
And we simply cannot record for 6 hours.
We simply cannot. So if you are invested in the specifics of like the little nitty-gritty details, also if you want to see some very interesting outfits, I do recommend watching it yourself. But we'll do our best to condense it for you.
This was like my favorite part of the whole season. I loved it.
I love the crossover.
Yeah. And like the amount of really intense drama was crazy from a group that has been thus far very boring. I have to say, like, overall, there have been funny parts that like I really enjoyed about the season, but this was a whole different level of drama. I was like, who are these people? Because they are messy as fuck. There's not really a moment of boredom in the entire 3 hours of this 2-part reunion. So if you want to be constantly entertained for 3 hours, please go watch it.
I agree. I also feel like seeing the crossover and how excited I was to be like, oh my God, like Sarper's talking to Lucille. I think I'm starting to understand how these Marvel people feel.
They're my Avengers. Okay, let's get into it. I can't wait. I'm chomping at the bit. So we start the episode with the couples arriving. The only thing of real note here is that Shekinah and Sarper do not arrive together. And it is openly discussed that basically they're not good. At first, I thought that meant that they're fully separated, but it turns out through the episode that's not exactly true. They seem to be kind of just in one of their fights, I think.
And they say that's like since they got married, things changed.
How long ago did they get married, though? It could have been 2 months, could have been 7. I don't know.
I will say later we get some math from Mark and Mina, which if you do the math backwards means that for them it's been 8 months since they got married.
See, that's a long time. That's so. And someone else I remember saying 4.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry guys, less than a year, but I don't know.
It does become very clear that Greg and Sarper have formed an adorable, something between bromance and like pet and owner relationship, where Greg like worships Sarper and Sarper is like, oh, you're so cute. Like this, and I love it.
I love it too. Also, an interesting dynamic overall related to that is that Shekinah and Sarper are clearly the veterans. They've been on a ton of spin-offs, and it seems that they're the most well-known of anyone there. That was just the vibe I was getting. Like, people kept either coming for them or just, I don't want to say sucking up, but like wanting to be associated with them, it felt. Which I get. If I was in a room with them, I would be doing the same shit.
I know.
I'd be like, Sarper, Shekinah, look at me. I can dance for you.
One other tiny detail, all the guys were like glazing Mark. They were like, you live on a runway? That's so cool. And I was like, no. This is why men can't congregate. They get bad ideas.
No, literally, that's how we got everything bad in the world.
Everything bad in the whole world is men congregating.
Also, interestingly, especially at the beginning, but throughout the episode, the kind of backstage hangouts are very gender segregated, except for Amani. Amani was always with the boys. And I was like, okay, very interesting dynamic
Girls
happening with that.
Drama.
Girls are so dramatic. It's so funny as like a bisexual person to feel that way. I don't know. That's so weird.
Also, all the other couples do arrive together with the exception of Ani, who is just not present. She is like via telepresence iPad situation from Mexico.
Okay, so the tell-all filming starts, and they're all like on these couches, kind of like if you've ever seen like Love is Blind or probably any other reality show thing. You know, the couples are on their little love seat couches, all kind of facing the same direction towards the cameras, and the host is in the middle, basically. And the host goes around to each couple to ask how married life is, just kind of like a overall how you doing. For Stevi and Mahdi got his green card and is working, and Stevie's happy about that. For Shekinah and Sarper, they didn't arrive here together, so married life is not great. There's clearly a lot of tension, and Shekinah complains that she didn't get a wedding ring even. And Shekinah talks about, which is really interesting to me, I've never seen this on a reality TV show, that's how you know we're on TLC, is Shekinah talks a lot about the work that she got done since she was last on TV. And I mean, she already had a ton of work done, so it's not like a crazy difference, but it is interesting that she is continuing to get more.
So then Mark and Mina, it is revealed that they did in fact move. and they're now living in Boston.
Which is, I'm so happy for Mina. And she says that she loves it.
Well, of course she loves it.
Of course she loves it, but I have to say, you could only love Boston if the only other place you've ever lived in America was New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Maybe one day she'll graduate to New York. But
okay, then it's the throuple. So as mentioned, Ani is like on this weird little iPad contraption next to them. The host addresses the elephant in the room, which is that Amani has gotten a truly insane amount of plastic surgery to the point where I did not recognize her except for context clues due to the fact that she was
next to Matt.
Yeah. Amani says she's currently 6 weeks post-op after a nose job, temporal lift, BBL, mini tummy tuck, and lipo that she'd got done all at once. It was interesting because both Matt and Ani clearly think it's kind of crazy. Like, Ani says she thinks it's really crazy to get so much work done at once. In general, it was just the kind of thing where, like, I do feel like everyone should make their own decisions about their body, but, like, it was already at this point clear that Amani was making this decision from a place of poor mental health. And I feel like you shouldn't let people you love, like, get surgery because they're in a bad mental health place. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was weird.
I mean, yeah, of course, at the end of the day, it's your body. You can do whatever you want with it, but your body is connected to your mind, and clearly she was suffering.
It sounds like the decision to get this done was somewhat impulsive.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, too bad.
Honestly, her, like, looking at her, how she looks now, and her talking about her surgeries, it was really bummed me out really hard. It
was depressing, and we'll talk about it more later, but it genuinely was, like, raised, like, societal questions, you know?
Yeah.
At this point, something that's established is that Amani and Shekinah are starting to form a beef.
Which I loved.
Because Shekinah's like, why'd you, because, you know, Amani says she's not that happy with her surgery, or she feels like she's having an identity crisis or something, and then Shekinah's like, then why'd you get it done? And they're having this, like, botched on botched crime of, like...
botched off.
Yeah, like, anyway, so it was kind of interesting to hear these two people who, although they are similarly botched at this point, have very different views towards plastic surgery.
But do they? Because it was so interesting, because Shekinah says that Amani got it done for the wrong reason. Shekinah says about herself, quote, I wanted to change certain things that bothered me. You wanted to fit society's standards. So those are two very different things. And I'm like, that's the exact same thing.
I actually thought about this because I agree, but I think there is a nuance that Shekinah was trying to describe, and I think she didn't describe it well, which is that I do think Shekinah, her getting her work done, it is firmly her choice. Like, she's like, I want to get work done. I mean, we can talk more about, like, what does it even mean in a society that has certain expectations to have choice, and, like, you know, why is it that all of our choices converge onto the beauty standard? You know what I mean? Like, but there was a real sadness in the way Amani was talking about the work she was having done, that she was, like, forced to have it done by society, and she didn't want to, and she seems to be not happy with the results, and also not happy that, like, ashamed and all this stuff. And I feel like,
yeah.
I will say, although I'm sure they were influenced to get the work done by similar societal forces, I don't think Shekinah is ashamed of it. And maybe that's the difference.
I think that Shekinah didn't express it correctly. I think what you said is what's actually going on. But it was just, that quote was so funny to me, because I'm like, so it's the same picture, but all right.
Yeah, because she's like, I did it for external reasons, whereas you did it for external reasons. It's like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Interesting. We get a reveal that before the reunion, Shekinah and Amani were in communication, and specifically, Amani sent a message to Shekinah telling her that she loves her, but, you know, just a fair warning, sorry for the bitch that she's about to be to Shekinah during the reunion. Shekinah took that as being extremely shady and weird, and immediately as soon as she shows up to the reunion is telling the producers, telling everyone about this weird message. And she does bring it up, you know, in front of the host later as well. So it's established that there's tension, and apparently it's because of this message. And sorry, even in this moment, the beef between them devolves so much that they're screaming at each other, and one of them says, fuck you. So that's how we're just doing it in this quick check-in. So we'll move on to hear about the other couples, but just teasing that this gets much bigger throughout the episode. The host then checks in with Shawn and Alliya, and
I'm sorry, the second I saw Shawn have his hand on Aliyah's knee, I was like, turn it off.
Get that fucking hand off of that sweet angel. Yeah, the really upsetting thing was that these two did come here together and appear to be, like, stronger than ever. We'll get into it. But they say that their relationship is currently a 7 out of 10. What they're prompted by the host to say this, they're not just randomly saying it. But then it's revealed that they're not having sex. And everyone else is like, that's not a 7 out of 10. But we'll get into that later. And these people are not asexual, so fair enough. Next up, we have Juan and Jessica. The host asks Jessica if she's learning Spanish, and Jessica says that she's not, but she's trying to find time for it, and, like, it's her goal, which to me means, okay, so it's probably not going to happen.
Also, I want to add at this point, Shekinah jumps in and goes, who cares? He speaks English. And I'm like,
Shekinah, shut up.
You don't get it. Like, Sarper definitely gets it, and you don't get it. And like,
yeah, she has American disease like fucking crazy. Like, you're here. You're American now. Forget about your old life. You don't need Spanish anymore.
So the last couple who the host does this like quick check-in with is Greg and Joan. And she asks how they've been doing since the wedding. And I think the biggest takeaway here is that they still live with Lucille.
I was shocked by that.
And the host teases that Lucille is coming out later. So thank God, need to see my queen.
So excited. With the random ass people that they ended up bringing out throughout this, I was like, you better bring out Lucille.
I know. That was another thing that I didn't like. Like, they brought out all these random people from the franchise to comment on the various couples. And like, maybe if you know them already, it matters. But I kind of was like, why are you here? Now is the like official kind of hot seats are starting.
Yeah, and we start with Sarper and Shekinah in the hot seat. And Shekinah and Sarper say that basically everything changed after they got married. Sarper complains about Shekinah telling him to take out the trash and go grocery shopping. Like, he lists those as examples of everything that changed. And he's like, I have too many responsibilities now. And I'm like, don't you have to do those things when you're single too?
Or like in a relationship but not married?
Yeah, what does that have to do with the marriage part? I feel like there's some stuff not being said here, which surprises me because I don't get the feeling like, I feel like they're both open books. But I was like, I don't see how that's what changed.
I didn't see this being like that much different than like their normal level of toxicity either.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think nothing has changed, and that's the problem. And they're maybe kind of realizing like, oh shit, we're actually tied to each other legally, and this is just a much bigger deal than if we just broke up when we're just dating.
I mean, I'm sure you're going to mention this, but like Sarper uses the word dependent a lot. He talks about, I know I'm dependent. And I like don't know what that means in the context of marriage versus something else, except for maybe what you're talking about, like that they're like legally intertwined. I don't really know.
You know what? Did they say if he got his green card and right to work yet, actually? I don't think they mentioned that.
They didn't talk about it.
Maybe he doesn't have it yet and they cut it for some reason that he's actually financially dependent on her.
Maybe.
That would make a lot more sense, actually. I bet that's what it is.
It's possible.
And I bet that his ego can't handle that.
Yeah, for sure. I think this was maybe the best Turkish saying we've gotten all season, and this really had me saying, now, what's going on over there? He said, instead of being dependent to the butcher, I'd cut my penis off and eat it.
Again, I need a Turkish person to weigh in. Is this a real saying? Or is this
Has
just
anyone
a Sarperism?
ever said this before?
And everyone was gagged by that. They're like, what the hell? I have to say, it was so nice to see that pretty much everyone had a positive reaction to Sarper throughout this entire thing. And obviously we recognize that he is genuinely problematic in many ways, and I am scared to see what else I find out about him when I go on my deep dive after all this is done, because I haven't really looked him up on social media and all that. But on TV, he's entertaining, and it can't be denied. And it was just nice to see other people appreciate him, I have to say. Because truly, we've been in such a bubble. Like, we don't know what people think. So now the host brings out Dan, and I immediately groaned and stopped taking notes. So unfortunately, Sophie's going to have to fill me in here on exactly what happened because my memory is not amazing. But I just thought, like, oh, we're going to skip this because Dan is so fucking boring. So feel free to jump in.
Yeah, it's not even that much that happened. I will say one thought I had during this section is, do you know who the Dan versus Sarper beef reminds me of? I hope you'll understand this reference. You know Elmo versus Rocco?
Yeah.
Where they like, every time they bring Rocco out, they like tease Elmo. They'll be like, guess who's here? And he's like, he's just a stupid rock. That is literally Dan versus Sarper.
Exactly.
And by the way, Dan is Rocco.
For sure, Dan is Rocco.
I mean, this whole thing was just stupid. They basically, they have the classic beef. There was one discussion that, other people chimed in on, which is, should Shekinah be friends with Dan, knowing that they used to hook up or date or whatever?
What do you think about that?
If you were genuinely friends first, and you, hooked up once drunkenly, and you both are, evolved enough that you're not weird about it, I guess maybe it's fine. But I feel like a lot of these things, I know this is a bit of a generalization, but, I just don't know a lot of straight men who, genuinely want to be platonic friends with women. And then, especially women they've had sex with or, hooked up with. So I'm like, what's the actual basis of the friendship?
Yeah.
So if I believed it was, a real friendship, I guess I don't know. I feel a bit weird about it. My first instinct is I don't love it, but especially in this context, Dan is actively trying to, steal Shekinah away. So, what's that about?
Yeah, just the fact that Dan is such an aggressor towards Sarper, it's it doesn't even matter at that point that him and Shekinah hooked up. I mean, it explains part of the aggression, but at the end of the day, why would you want to keep a friend who, hates your partner? If you do love your partner and you think that's a better person to keep in your life.
I agree. And I think it's regardless if you, to your point, even if they hadn't hooked up, if he's just, always trying to get in there there and like replace Sarper. Like it's a weird friend to tolerate.
Yes. I mean, I feel kind of like similarly about Megan in the Juan and Jessica situation. Obviously, like, well, pretty much Jessica and her didn't hook up before. Like, they're not past, you know, lovers or whatever. But still, there's like this weird emotional enmeshment or something going on that makes that boundary blurred in a way that's uncomfortable for the partner.
I agree. And then basically, like, they just like kept having this weird fight with Dan. And Shekinah does reveal that like they had this weird fight at Christmas, and then Sarper like went to a rental house for 10 days, less than a month after marriage.
That's crazy. 10 days. That's a long time to get away.
And then Shekinah says that when they fight, Sarper threatens to go back to Turkey and fuck everyone there. And then I'm only mentioning this because Ani from the iPad, this is the first thing we ever heard her say. She goes, "No, Sarper, this is very bad words."
Yes, Ani. Correct.
You're right. And that was the end of that.
I mean, objectively, Sarper and Shekinah's relationship is so toxic. Like, I never want to sound like I actually think that, like, their relationship goals or anything. I think overall, with the information that I have from this singular season, I find that their relationship dynamic is fairly equal. I mean, at the end of the day, probably not, because he is a man and he is also a very large man who's very muscular and, like, could physically overpower her if he needs to. So I'd say, I'm not accusing him of having done that. I have no proof for that. I don't know. I don't think so. But I think just like the fact that there is that potential, of course, that dynamic I think is always tipped in his favor. That said, he's a foreigner in her country, so she has that power above him. I would say the dynamic is like fairly equal, which is why I don't feel the need at this point to condemn one of them. I think if anything, I'm going to condemn both. Like, they both have a weird relationship they're both bringing toxicity to.
And I also think the toxicity is like their kink.
Yeah, I think they kind of like it.
So it's like, okay. It's like, I feel like, okay, if it works for you guys, to your point, I don't see a problematic power differential from the outside. So it's like, okay, if that's what you as like consenting adults want to be doing with your time, okay.
A lot of people are in toxic relationships for their whole life, and like obviously it's distressing for them, but it is their choice. And I think they're making that choice. So now filming takes a break, and Shekinah and Sarper continue arguing backstage, which is great. And Sarper says that he's always been honest about who he is, and he has a short temper, but she makes him crazy. And she says that he needs therapy. And I mean, this fight goes on longer, but I'm just giving the highlights. Honestly, this is the first time that I've seen Sarper look genuinely mad. Like, I feel like on his face, he looks angry in a way that I have not actually seen before. I feel like in the past, even if he's yelling, like, his face is more calm. So I just thought that was interesting. It looks actually irate. And he says, "You will lose me just because of you. You will regret like a dog." And Shekinah's like, "You're calling me a dog?" And she starts crying. And then he's like, "It's a saying. It's a saying." It's probably like a Turkish saying. And Shekinah says that she doesn't want to be around him. It's toxic and she's sick of it. And Sarper storms off. And would you believe it? It's not the last time these two interact, this whole reunion. And like, we go on an emotional roller coaster with them just to prime you.
And this is just in the span of a few hours. Like, imagine actually spending like a week in their shoes. Like, I can't even imagine how exhausting it is to be them.
You know what I would love to recreate? Like, not literally beat by beat, but like the experience I would love to have with Shekinah and Sarper. I would love to do a dinner party a la Michael and Jan from The Office.
And Dan is the one singing the song on the CD.
My God. Oh my. Wait, the way they are literally that dynamic, very reminiscent.
Well, just like the endless toxicity.
What do you think they'd even feed you? There'd be no carbs in sight. It would just be like eggs and steamed salmon. It'd be like what German people eat. No offense.
God. Minus the bread, which is the best thing they have here.
It would just be so fascinating. I know that we've already gotten a cameo from Sarper, but I would just be so honored to be able to pay to have dinner at him and Shekinah's home, if they even still live together.
On their like esthetician chair.
No, that's where I have to sit to eat my dinner. There's no dining table. Okay, now filming begins again, and Stevi and Mahdi are in the hot seat now. Tell me why I feel like Stevi and Mahdi get so much time in their hot seat when I'm like, they're so fucking boring. Were people interested in this couple?
I don't think so. I really also found them extremely boring.
I felt like also in the show they got so much screen time. Like in the main show, I felt like they got so much screen time. And I'm like, who is making this decision? They're so boring.
I think if you think Iran is like really a crazy country and being bi is a really crazy thing to be, then they're fascinating.
Oh, see, I don't feel that way. So, okay, yeah, okay, sure, I see that. So they're in the hot seat, and they're talking about how Mahdi now has the right to work. He has his green card and he's been working as a personal trainer. And then Stevi has this weird reveal where she talks about how, like, no one knows this, but I guess when they first met, she was overweight and Mahdi helped her lose the weight. And she kind of like is using this as an example of like how he loves her. And they showed like a before and after picture, which I was like, oh my God, TLC. And like she did obviously lose a lot of weight, but then we see her in the moment and I'm like, she doesn't look like that anymore.
You know, I don't like weight loss as a storyline, period. But I especially found this one like not that compelling because like seeing her before, like honestly, she looked fine. And then after she looked fine, and then now she looks fine. And it's like, It wasn't like a, oh my God, like this changed my whole life. Like, tell me how your life actually changed for having this. Like, that's the thing where I'm like, okay, and so who cares?
Yeah. Also, this has not been a plot line. It's so weird to bring up at the reunion.
Well, also, she kind of mentioned like, it's like an ongoing thing. He's like still helping her lose weight. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that like icks me out to even hear about. Like, also, just side note, I don't know what his qualifications are to be a personal trainer, except that he's like fit himself.
That's it. I'm sure that's it.
But like, I will say like there is a huge difference between like being a qualified trainer and just like knowing how to work out your own body. And so I'm kind of wondering like what his qualifications are here, in the same way that I'm wondering what his qualifications are to teach English.
Oh my God, him being an English teacher, I forgot about that.
And so the thought of muddying the water and having your spouse also be your trainer, and not just a trainer who's trying to help you like get more strong but like lose weight, it makes me feel sick to my stomach.
I know. I think there's situations where that could be healthy. I just like really doubt this is one of them.
It didn't land. It was supposed to be this like cool side thing, didn't land.
And we never brought up again. That's it. And then basically they talk about her funny quirks from the beginning of the season, where it's like, I'm always falling asleep and I can't sleep at night because I have all these thoughts in my head and I whatever. And all these things that we were like, these sound like diagnosable things, like narcolepsy, for example, the always falling asleep. She's like, I always fall asleep when I eat food. And I'm like, that's not normal. But it is revealed that she has narcolepsy. And I'm like, okay, so that's what we thought.
Finally, a diagnosis.
Yes, not just a quirk. And she says that basically Mahdi is very like, what's the word, supportive of that part of
like
her.
Accommodating.
And that means a lot to her. Like, for example, like she can never just watch a movie all the way through. She always falls asleep in the middle of it because of her narcolepsy. And he just like pauses the movie. And she was like, yeah, it just like means so much. And I don't want to shit on like a disabled woman like praising her partner, but because I obviously like I'm not in that situation, but I was like, that does feel like the bare minimum. And is that worth criticizing?
No, I wrote the same thing. She's like crying about it. And I'm like happy. She's like, it's just so beautiful. Like when I'm like falling asleep, he like isn't, I don't know. It's just like the same. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, what else would he do?
Why would he keep watching the movie without? It's just like weird. I don't know. It made me sad for like how have past partners treated her that this is like so amazing, or like what's up with her self-worth that she thinks is so amazing. I don't know.
But this is the bigger thing with more like a lot of straight relationships are like this.
I know. Now they bring Saeed in, Mahdi's internet friend, who's the pot stirrer.
Well, they also brought the random person from a different 90 Day spinoff who is qualified to talk about this because she's dating an Iranian man. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful.
That almost feels like offensive. Like I was like, what do you mean that's like your qualification? And she didn't even really like say anything. She just was like, you can't get between an Iranian man and his mom. And I'm also like, well, you can, but it's fine that you don't want to like hold your partner to a higher standard. Fine. Okay. People say this. I'm sorry. Like people always say that too about like Korean men, and my husband is Korean. Hashtag come with me. Me and my Korean husband be Korean together. But they're like, people are always like, oh my God, well, you know, Korean men and their mom, like they're so doted on and like blah, blah, blah. And like her word goes. And I'm like, yeah, if you have a pussy husband, that's true. Like, I don't know. Sorry. How about you get a husband who has self-respect and respect for you as his partner? Like, shut up. I hate when people normalize this kind of thing. And it's like, and they're like, oh my God, it's such an Iranian thing. It's such a Korean thing. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just like a men sucking thing. Why does it have to be like a cultural thing? Also, it's like, I feel like most cultures are like that. That's not acceptable to me.
Mommy's boys exist in every single culture. So
yeah, I actually think that's the default. Yeah. It's like so funny to be like, well, no, you don't get it. You're American in this culture. And I'm like, it's like that everywhere. Shut up. Anyway, so Saeed comes to the hot seat now, and he's wearing that same fuck-ass shirt he was in the finale. I love that
shirt.
He has one shirt. The one that had like this, like I said, like bowling alley print, like you said, 80s movie theater. It's exact. It looks so funny. It almost made me wonder. I'm like, is this a coincidence or were people making fun of his shirt online and he did it as like a gag? I don't know, but I love that he wore it. He's basically just like shitting on their relationship, saying Stevi isn't supportive enough of Mahdi, but he like won't explain exactly what he means by that. It just seems like it's out of nowhere. And he mentions that Saeed told Mahdi that Mahdi can come stay with him in California if he wants, where, quote, life is more diverse. And that's also kind of out of nowhere. I get the feeling from all this that basically Mahdi confides in Saeed that the town where he lives in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, with Stevie is boring as fuck. Sucks so bad, which looks like it does. And then Saeed's like, dude, you can totally come out. I live in California. Like, it's so much more fun. There's more to do, whatever. And then I think that Mahdi doesn't tell Stevie this. I could imagine her not being able to handle that. And it's like very clear in this confrontation at the reunion that Mahdi just won't tell Stevie that like he fucking hates where she lives.
I also did identify what I think is a problem with Saeed, which is I think he's the kind of friend who doesn't understand when you're in a venting space versus in a solution space.
Yeah.
So I feel like Mahdi's probably like, oh, I don't like living here. And Saeed's like, okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to move in with me. You're going to, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's just, I mean, Mahdi hints that he's not really happy there. Like he mentions not having friends and stuff like that, which is like kind of big. Yeah. But I do think he's not going to like just randomly move to California. So
I mean, we don't get a lot of details on it, but I could imagine that Stevie doesn't want to move or something like that. And Mahdi, like, they haven't even been married that long, to be fair. Like, probably he's just giving it a shot and hasn't brought it up yet. They also barely know each other, him and Stevie, to remind us.
I know.
You might not feel comfortable enough, like, being honest about that, which isn't good, but it could just be the case. Oh my God, Saeed does have this really funny quote where he says, he's such a shitster. He says to everyone that Mahdi has taken every risk by leaving his family and friends behind, like in his country in Iran. And the biggest risk Stevie did was crossing that bridge to go to the airport. That was so funny.
I loved it.
He ate.
And everyone hates him, but I don't know, he's kind of a bad friend, but I kind of get where he's coming from.
I think he's a low-key bad friend. I agree with that. Or at least has horrible delivery and timing. And not like a sense of also what should be shared versus what's private conversation. But I will say I could see Mahdi being the kind of person where he's like, oh my God, I fucking hate my life, blah, blah, blah. And then in front of Stevie is like, no, I'm totally happy. And so like as the friend, I would be like, dude, just tell her you want to move. You know, so I'm just assuming here, but like I could see that being the dynamic, and that would have...
I don't think Saeed is as bad of a friend as everyone else on the show is saying, because they're all like, he's got to stick by his wife, blah, blah, blah. But I do feel like he doesn't know what's actually helpful in any situation.
Yes, I think that's true. He can't really read the room in a way that I find fascinating. Okay, at that comment about the bridge thing, everyone does get mad at him, including the other couples. And Stevie and Saeed straight up like are yelling at each other. They're like beefing like crazy now. It's so funny. And then the bisexual topic comes up. And I'm like, wrap it up, mama. But this was actually interesting because the host directly asked Stevie if she's kissed a girl. Thank you, someone finally... Well, okay, I feel complicated about this. Like, but on some level, I can be like, you know what? Thank you for a fucking straightforward question. Like, if you're going to do it, don't be like, so... do blah, blah. Like, let's just be honest about what you're asking, and I guess they are. On the other hand, kind of equally, if not more, I feel like, hey, why are we interrogating someone about their sexuality? I feel very uncomfortable.
I know. Although, again... there were these things where it's like so confusing about like, number one, what Stevie has admitted to herself, but then also like what her goal or technique is. Like even like up front, Shekinah like almost tried to, I think, help her by being like, oh, is it that you don't want to label your sexuality? Mm-hmm. And Stevie says there is no label. And it's like, what do you mean by
just
that?
Say yes. Like there's,
you know,
it's okay if you don't identify with a label or labels aren't important to you, but like technically there is a label that you could be put under.
And she just keeps having these vague answers that raise more questions. You know, like that's the thing that kills me too, is I'm like,
I'm getting confused.
I know.
That's the thing is like, obviously her sexuality is none of our business. I do think it's her husband's business in the sense that I think it's very strange for your partner to not know something that's such an important part of your identity. If like you do love them.
I would take a step back and say, I don't think you should be in a relationship with someone who you feel the need to keep your sexuality from.
Exactly. That's concerning.
But I don't know if you said this, but when the host asked if she's kissed a woman, Stevie is like really weird about it too. She's like refusing to answer and like...
she's like, what?
And then she also says that she's into, quote, souls, personalities, and who people are more than their body. So I'm like, so you're like pan?
So probably bisexual, and that's fine. That's great. It's beautiful. But it's so funny to be basically saying that, which I feel like is pretty explicit about like, okay, so it's not just men, which again, I don't care. It's fine. But be like so afraid of being like, yeah, I guess I'm bi or whatever. Why is that hard for her to say? I don't get it. But when explicitly to the question of have you kissed a girl before, she says, I don't kiss and tell. And I'm like, okay.
So yes.
So yes. So weird. And Stevi says that she doesn't have to give that answer to Mahdi. And I'm like, I mean, so which is it? Which is it? Like, because in the finale, she was saying, oh my God, I feel so awful that this whole time, all that Mahdi has wanted is a straight answer. And I don't know why I felt like I couldn't give it to him. And then she did say no, you know, and she was like, in retrospectively being like, oh my God, like, I feel so bad that I made him suffer for no reason. Like, I was so silly back then. And then now in the reunion, she's like, I don't owe him an answer at all. I'm like, okay, so these are not the same argument.
I also, this thing of I don't owe him. I'm like, well, I do think we owe our spouses like some degree of honesty. I really do.
Yeah. And again, I'm not even sure if her being bisexual would be a deal breaker for Mahdi, but before they got married, he pretty much said as much, that he doesn't want to find out that she's bisexual once they get married. And to be clear, I think that being a deal breaker for him is some of the stupidest shit I've ever heard. I hate that. It's fucked up. It's homophobic, biphobic, all of it. I think it's just so bigoted and gross. That said, if that's his line in the sand, Stevi, you need to respect that both for him and yourself.
Why are you with him? I know.
So her playing, like, almost being deceptive in that way, I find stupid, because it's like, okay, you're just prolonging a breakup that he communicated he wanted to happen if that was the case up front. And like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of like weird consent-wise. I don't enjoy her doing that.
There's like, I want to get into this more later at another time, because there's like so much more to be said about this, but like I feel like this is a thing where people are mad about the wrong thing, where it's like I feel like the actual conversation that needs to be had is on a different level. And it's like we've said this, but like it doesn't even matter if like Mahdi is being homophobic or whatever, in the sense that the problem is that they're incompatible.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, he's expressed views that are incompatible with who you are as a person. Break up.
Yeah. Like him being homophobic or biphobic would be a deal breaker for me. But
yes,
if it's not for Stevi, okay, you guys are welcome to be fucked up together. But the problem is you are seemingly bisexual, and he's saying, if you are, I don't want to marry you. And then you lied to him, basically, it sounds like, and now don't want to admit that you lied. And I think that's
it's so weird.
Fucked up within your stupid little arrangement. But just like, I hated the optics of people basically like being like, are you bisexual or not? I was like, oh my God, what is this conversation in 2026? Like, or 2025, whenever it came out. I found it like, on some level, I understand that he is owed that, but I'm like, and obviously I know this is reality TV, but I'm like, I really feel like this is a private conversation. Like, I don't know, it felt weird for it to be so public domain, but I do understand, like, this is a show and that is what they signed up for. I felt really, like, conflicted about it. I don't know. I felt gross.
I want to talk about it more. I want to talk about some more another time. Like, I really want to dive into some of these LGBTQ topics, because I think they're handled really poorly.
Yes.
And I think we end up having conversations that, like, aren't the conversation that needs to be had, and it just, like, is kind of weird.
Yeah, because no one in this room was equipped to have this in a truly, like, regulated and queer affirming way. Like, it felt like a witch hunt or something. It felt like really quite strange. So I agree with you. I think maybe we'll even have an episode talking about overall themes, and I think a big one will be various queer themes. That, yeah, were not handled gracefully this reunion, so just trigger warning up top about that.
I will say I did love at this point the hosts. This was the one time where I was like, okay, she's being a good host. Her pivot into like, who else has kissed a woman?
I did like that. Yeah, she asked the whole group, and it was interesting how many of the women had kissed women. I hope that was like, I don't know, an affirming moment or like a nice moment for Stevi or anyone queer watching the show or anything like that. Also, we have queer women on the cast.
I know. It was just nice to show it's not a big deal. I mean, a lot of them, it's like drunk kissing my friends. It's not really like the same, but I did love the reveal that Jessica has kissed Megan.
Multiple times.
And
she does clarify that it's like a drunken kiss. And maybe this is a part of like straight culture I'm not a part of, but I'm like, multiple times.
And then I will say I loved Sarper jumped in. Sarper said, Torrington, options are limited.
Oh my God, Sarper's so funny. My king. I will say, though, that Stevi, in their little confrontation about the whole bisexuality stuff, she asked Mahdi if it would change anything now if he found out. Funny way to say it, also, I'll say. And he said he can't answer that. And everyone is gagged by that. So it sounds like, yeah, it would be a deal breaker for him. And Stevi, why are you in this situation? Just be who you are with someone who accepts you. It's so not a match. And Mahdi asked Stevi if she wouldn't feel the same way about him if he were secretly bisexual. And she says no, she wouldn't care about his past. And I believe her. And he says that it's not about the past, it's about now. Basically, he just thinks that if you're bi, you're like more likely to be a cheater. Totally biphobic myth. Like, it's ridiculous. And Stevi even brings up, she's like, okay, well, I could potentially also cheat on you with a man right now. Like, it wouldn't be different if I was also attracted to women. It's just like so clear that these two are not compatible. Like, they just think differently about sexuality. And obviously I agree with Stevi more, but okay, why are you guys married? Like, this is such a fundamental thing for you to disagree on.
I know.
And that's where their hot seat ends.
And then we have like this little like filmed lunch break, which whatever. The one thing I did think was really interesting here was there was like some more discussions about the bisexuality. And Mahdi asked Shawn if when Shawn was with his ex-wife, he wanted something else. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like, that he's like really going down this thing of like, it's just still in his brain, he's justifying to himself like his little kind of witch hunt and that like Stevie's gonna leave him and that he's not enough for her. And I just thought that was interesting.
It's also, I do think it sounds like Shawn's sexuality is complicated because obviously he is with a woman now. But I mean, at the time when he divorced his first wife, it was because he realized that he was gay. So I'm like, well, that's not the same as being bisexual. Like, that's like straight up, he was like, oh, I can't be with this woman because at least at the time, he believed that he wasn't attracted to women at all. So I'm like, well, Mahdi, that's not like a helpful answer even if he had given you one.
I really do think though that like a mini shit is setting Mahdi back as well. Because he's like, oh my God, Stevie needs to also be married to a woman.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's actually true. I mean, Amani is like some of the worst bisexual representation you can ask for, so that is sending him in a spiral, I'm sure.
So the next hot seat is Greg and Joan.
This is interesting.
This one it gave me a lot to think about.
Stressed me out.
As mentioned, they are still living with Lucille.
Hard reveal.
Joan says she's really sad about that and that it like constantly affects them, which I believe.
And I'm really shocked because I thought that the whole thing of Greg getting a job was that they could move out. Well, I mean, obviously he needed that job anyway, but I'm like, so does he even still have that job? Like, I don't know.
Okay, so at this point, they bring out the one like 90-day guest that I thought was semi-helpful, which is Big Ed.
Crazy. That's 90-day royalty, baby. The originator of our podcast name.
I know. That feels like a message to us, even though at the time this came out, our podcast didn't exist.
Well, it was in its infancy. It was ruminating in our brains.
So true. So I guess Ed is here because he lives with his mom, and this is the connection. And like he just like recommends that Joan give Greg like an ultimatum or like a 90-day limit to move out.
I love the 90-day limit because I'm like, is he not allowed to give a different time frame?
Everything's 90 days. And I'm like, I don't know that these work with Greg because he's already been given like these and he's still living at his mom. So I don't know.
It's very clear to me that Greg just really enjoys living at home with his mom. I don't think there's anything more to be said. I think that that's why they're still there is he likes it.
Unfortunately, probably true. And then Lucille is here in a little sparkly shirt. They bring her out. She's sitting next to Ed.
She looks so good. I love her.
I love her. And they immediately play like a montage of their kind of roommate experience, specifically Joan and Lucille's like kind of fights and stuff living together. And they specifically focus on this moment where Joan told Lucille she needs to go out more. And like that one's just hard to justify. And like even in the moment, like during the recording, like you can see Lucille feels upset about it.
Yeah. And Shekinah kind of comes for Joan saying that was bad. And Joan defends herself. And I'm like, Joan, just admit that it was bad. I mean, maybe you don't like the messenger, but come on. It was bad.
Her like defense of it wasn't even good. She was trying to justify like, well, I just think she should go out more. And I'm like, no. Like you've already dug yourself into a hole. Like just, you know.
That was really disappointing for me because I thought I really liked Joan overall. And I was shocked to see that in this moment, at least, she was so defensive. Why can't she just say, my bad? Like, I really feel bad about that. It felt like a weird ego moment of not being able to look weak or something. I don't know. It was strange. Or genuinely not understanding what she did wrong.
Ed, at this point, said something I actually thought was really insightful, which is that he said Greg created the situation and it's unfair to both Joan and Lucille. And I liked him saying that. It's so easy to criticize the women.
Yes.
For the situation, but ultimately it is like Lucille doesn't want them there. Joan doesn't want to be there. Greg is the one who's keeping them there.
Completely Greg's
fault.
So
I was glad he was called out.
I know, not Big Ed being like the moral compass. That was crazy.
The voice of reason. At this point, Sarper jumps in and he says, Lucille, I'm your biggest fan. And I was about to pass out. I was like,
Is this written for us?
And then the conversation shifts to being about sex.
You know, this was tough for both of us.
I know.
Honestly, I felt like it was tough for Lucille too. She was like, ooh.
I know. And the host asked them if they're actively trying to have kids. And they say that they are not using contraceptives.
Sorry, my heart's racing.
Okay, by the way, side note. If you're trying to get pregnant, don't fucking tell me. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. We're trying. I don't want to hear about you having sex. Tell me if you're pregnant.
Yeah, and act like it was a mistake.
If you're trying through other means like IVF, like you can tell me about your journey, but I don't want to hear you being like, yeah, we're having unprotected sex all the time.
It feels kinky to say. I'm just like, please.
We've normalized the word trying a little too much.
The way people will like say that to their parents too. And I'm like, whoa. We're trying every night. Ooh,
we just tried.
Much.
I know. So I don't like that.
The reveal that they are not using contraceptives and they don't even have an apartment that they're renting.
Well, this was tough for me. Up front, it's hinted at that it's sort of like a cultural thing for Joan. Like maybe in her culture, like if you're married, you don't use contraceptives. I don't know. But I thought it was really weird. Like repeatedly when she was asked about contraceptives, she said, well, we're married. I'm like, well, do you think getting married means like you immediately have to get pregnant? And like you can be married and not actively want to have kids.
It also disturbed me that it wasn't as if she didn't say something like, oh, I really want to have children. Even that I'd be like, okay, maybe we dig into why, but it didn't even be like, it didn't, you know what I mean? It was just like, well, we're married. We don't have to use contraceptives. And I'm like, okay, do you realize that that's how you get pregnant though? Like, do you even want that?
I know her responses were just confusing to me. And then like, it was clarified that like, you know, because they are actively having sex without contraceptives, there's a chance they can get married. They can get pregnant.
That's how it happens.
And they are still living at Lucille's. Therefore, they could get pregnant while living at Lucille's house. And Lucille expresses very clearly, kindly I thought, but clearly, she does not want them having kids at her house. She's like, I raise enough kids in my house. And it's like, I get that. Like having your adult son there is probably already annoying, but like also having a baby in the house like really shifts the dynamic. So also she probably just doesn't want them to like stay there forever. Like if they have kids and then they like at a certain point they're going to be taking over her house. Like I don't really.
Because also if they have, sorry to talk about logistics too much, but it's like, okay, Joan, if you have kids, probably you wouldn't then start your career in the US. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that you would just stay home with the children, which is fine. You're welcome to make that decision. But if that's the truth, then you guys are going to have even less money than you already have. So you have no hope of getting your own place. So it's like if that happened, basically, unless Lucille were to like literally get police involved and like kick them out of her home, they would just be there basically for the next 10 years probably.
Yes.
Like that's what that means.
So this part really upset me. Lucille says in kind but not uncertain terms she does not want them to have kids while living at her house. And Joan says nothing is going to stop her from trying. And like,
even if that was cut out of that exact moment, that's a crazy thing to say in this whole discussion.
And like they have this real, the conversation escalates to this real direct thing of like, and I think like Shekinah is getting involved now too. And she's like, why would you say that? Like you're going to have kids when she just told you like, don't have kids in my house. And Joan has this attitude that really upset me because I've previously really liked Joan. That like, it was like as if Lucille is like really overstepping by like making comments about like, you know, like taking away her reproductive autonomy. That was the feeling. That was like, and it's like, well, if they were living in their own place and Lucille said don't have kids, I mean, that would be fucked up.
Yes.
Like, Lucille's not saying don't have kids. She's saying you can't have kids while you're living with me for free.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
She's a stakeholder.
Yes. Also, Lucille recognizes the incredibly likely option, which I don't think she actually said, but I'm sure she knows that she would be helping raise those kids. And she doesn't want to do that shit. She already did it. She literally said, I don't want to go back to square one. Like, I already had my kids. And I already have grandkids. Like, I know what that is.
I was really confused and put off by this conversation because I thought Lucille was actually really reasonable, and I was confused by Joan like digging in her heels in this way.
I thought that Joan and Greg came off horribly in this. I thought like, whoa, this is making me like you guys a lot less. And you had done some really good character rehab in the final couple episodes of the main show. And you guys look like clowns.
I agree. And then
at one point, Joan says, by the time I get pregnant, I'll be out of her house. And I'm like, by what logic?
what's the plan to get there?
You're having unprotected sex now and you're in her house. You could be pregnant literally right now, as far as you know, and you're living in her house. So what do you mean? It wasn't even like by the time I give birth. It's like by the time I get pregnant. I'm like, oh yeah, famously when you get pregnant, finances get easier, life gets easier, and then it's so simple to just become independent.
And it's a good time to like upend your life and make big changes.
And Minnie now jumps in with, and actually, I think, an actually accurate observation for maybe the first time in Amani's life. But Amani says that she thinks that Joan hopes that if she and Greg have a kid, that will push Greg to leave his mom's house. But what if it doesn't? And Joan says that she trusts Greg's word. But I was like, oh, yeah, I do think that's what's going on here. I didn't think about that, but I think that's actually quite insightful.
And then at this point, like, I thought that Lucille was being really reasonable. She mentioned that there's like a trailer park near Greg's work that has homes for sale. And she says maybe that could be a good like starter home for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, you know what? It's reasonable. If that's what you can afford, then, you know, live there and that's what you can afford. Yeah. And then Greg says he prefers a condo or a co-op. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. You know what? Up till now, I've really seen Greg as the like dreamer, if you want to call it that in a nice way, like the kind of head in the clouds guy. But the shit Joan was saying about having children in her circumstances and like what she thinks that's going to look like, I was like, oh my God, it's both of you guys. There's no adult here.
And I will say, like, not to jump around too much, but later on, like at the end of the show, there's like some chit chat, and Greg said something that made me so mad, which is he goes, yeah, I'm realizing like me moving out should be a priority. Like, yeah, I'll definitely make getting our own place my top priority. I'm like, why wasn't it already?
She already gave you an ultimatum, I guess, about getting a job. But I'm like, she could not have been more clear. She and Lucille and all of your friends. Like, it's actually really, really aggravated me now that I'm thinking about, like, I kind of think Greg is a lost cause. Like,
this is actually a recurring theme I've had where, like, not necessarily in this show, but just like in general, like I feel like there are people where it's like you find yourself giving them leeway because you're like, oh, well, like maybe they didn't know, whatever. And it gets to a point where you're like, I know they're not that stupid. Like, I know Greg is not, at a certain point, like it almost becomes like a little bit malicious, where I'm like, the people who you care about are begging you to do something. Mm-hmm. They've made it very clear why it needs to happen. You being so like aloof, like at a certain point, it goes beyond just like, oh, I didn't know. It's like, no, you did know. You had all the information. You have the ability to change your circumstances. Like, you are choosing not to. And I'm sick of him acting like his life is happening to him.
Yes, agreed.
You're part of it. Like, so the bumbling fool act only takes you so far. At a certain point, I'm just like, okay, you're trying to have children. Like, get your fucking shit together.
Sorry, the moment that kids enter the picture, even the planning to get pregnant, which I don't know why they're acting they're not doing that. Like, they're like, I guess we in a way, we could be getting pregnant soon.
We are having unprotected sex.
And I'm like, no, so what you're doing is you're trying to have a baby. Like, just admit what you're doing and then commit to it. And you can't fuck around when you have kids. You move wherever the fuck you need to afford it, and you get whatever the fuck job you can to afford it. Like, I mean, ideally you have those things sorted out before you have children, but like, that's your number one priority if that's what you're doing. And it's not for these people. And that is what activates me, because I'm like, you're not having kids for the right reason.
He frankly barely loves his wife if he's doing it this way, because she has been like, my quality of life is really bad. I'm sad all the time. And he's like, well, what? Like, this like really upsets me.
I know.
The only other thing that I loved from this segment was Alliya asks if Lucille wants to be close to them if they have grandkids, like physically, because they're talking about like maybe they could live in Uganda, whatever. And Lucille basically is like, I'm focusing on me right now. And she's like, maybe I want to date someone. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Lucille. Like, you don't need to bend backwards to be like the matriarch. Like, you live your life.
I need her to get her groove back. Lucille for Bachelorette, if that show were good at all.
I know. And then like there is this like extended joke about like her and Big Ed dating. They're like fake flirting with each other and like smacking each other's asses. And I'm like,
what is this?
Okay, I guess that's fine.
You know what, period. But like, it's so funny because they try to edit that way, in the way that, like, Big Ed, like, they like walk out holding hands at one point, and he's like, we're gonna go get a drink, and she goes, oh yeah, no, they're gonna drive me back to Long Island. Like, she couldn't even fake it. It's like, no, I'm getting a car out of here.
Not even for the bit. She's like,
No. She's like, just so you know, I'm not gonna fuck you. Like, and we love a queen of standards. We really do.
Amen. The next one is the throuple, and I already fear this is going to be long. My notes are like 10 times as long for them as they are for anybody else.
But guys, this is some interesting fucking shit.
So there are a lot of crazy outfits that are all worth like looking. We'll try to throw some pictures up on the Instagram, but Matt and Amani, for some reason, their outfits were sourced from like a maybe prom rental place. Because they were kind of coordinating. He had this like really weird tie that looked like a...
Why was it tied in like 3 knots at the top?
It looked like an intestine or something.
I thought that like he
really
untied
weird.
it at a break and then didn't know how to tie it and got nervous. Like it looked like shit. Do you think that was on purpose?
I don't know. And he was, yeah, I think it was. And he's wearing this like one of those vests. It's like a fake vest. It's like a halter top. You know what I mean?
I didn't notice. Not the halter top.
Their outfits were like both the same like dark green satin, and like Amini's dress was doing just a bit too much for...
Amani looked like a Disney villain. Also, her fake tan was out of control. She was bright orange, and her makeup too on top of it. Like the contouring was so stark, and I'm like, okay, so what the fuck was the point of your 5th or whatever nose job? Like, why are you still putting contour on? That always kills me. Like the Kardashians do. Anyway, they looked a mess.
So they were just visually quite interesting. First question the host has for them: are they still a throuple? And I thought certainly no. Answer: yes.
What is going on? Why do I hate Greg and Joan and the throuple are together again? And the even crazier reveal is that they never broke up.
They never broke up. They just didn't talk for a few weeks.
Okay, that's healthy. No, but some of them, I forget who, but like one of them is like, oh, it was 1 week. The other was like, no, it was 2 weeks. And then the other was like, it was a month.
It's a month. And they can't agree. So at some unit of time, they didn't speak. They also revealed that they spent Christmas, New Year's, and Matt and Amani's daughter's birthday together as like a big blended family, which disgusts me.
Pictures, I was like, oh my god, it's like a circus. It's so many people. It was like 10 people together. Also, the concept of your parents introducing you to their third and having to spend Christmas together is like, I would be like,
not just Christmas, your birthday.
not the birthday party being like the foreplay. You know, it's a lot.
It's so gross. So the host at this point asked them like why they wanted to be a throuple. And Matt says it was his goal to fulfill Amani's lifelong dream of experiencing a gay lifestyle.
So,
like, what does that mean?
A continuation of the theme of the queer storylines having the wrong conclusions or like just weird representation.
And then at this point, Sarper says Matt seems hypnotized and that he's just like doing this to fulfill his wife's fantasy. And like, okay, this sounds weird, but I can appreciate Sarper taking it seriously in the sense of like viewing Amani's desire to be with a woman as threatening towards her relationship with Matt, because a lot of people have this weird kind of like biphobia, homophobia, whatever, that manifests in them not taking same-sex relationships, especially to women, seriously. Like, yes, men who are like, you can cheat on me with a man, but you can't cheat on me with a woman. It's like, why? Like, why do you not take seriously the...
Wait, what do you mean? Do you mean like, oh, if a married woman hooked up with another woman, it wouldn't be considered cheating by the husband? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Like, even earlier in the show when they were talking about kissing women, like Juan, for example, mentioned like he doesn't care that Jessica kisses other women because like it's just women.
Right.
I feel like societally, so often men are less threatened by women than they are by other men.
Yes.
And it's like a manifestation of like not taking bisexuality seriously or whatever. So I just think it's kind of like in a way progressive of Sarper to be like treating Ani as a threat to Matt. I know that's kind of like convoluted.
He's our king. What's there to say?
And so then Amani says this isn't a fantasy. And it's like, nobody said this is a fantasy, but you've even described as your lifelong fantasy to be with a woman. So it's like...
Amani's messaging is like so convoluted.
She says it's not a fantasy and bisexuality isn't a phase. I'm like, girl, no one said that.
No one said that.
Like,
yeah, no one said that.
You're projecting shit from your childhood or whatever because nobody said that. And then she says, and I want to be with women and I also love my husband. And I'm like, what the hell are you saying? That was like 10 things in one that all contradict and like none of them are progressive and just like, whatever. But she's really setting bisexuals back.
She really is.
So at this point, the host asked them like what the rules are currently, because you know this theme of like the rules in the throuple was a big topic throughout the show.
There's been no rules, so yeah, let's find out.
Minnie says the rules have changed and she no longer expects to be asked for explicit permission before Ani and Matt have sex without her.
Which I do think is good, but then it's revealed the reasons for that are dubious.
Which is that basically Ani and Matt are having a lot of sex without Minnie, but also Minnie and Ani have never had sex without Matt.
Crazy reveal.
Her, you know, quote unquote fantasy, but Matt is always involved in the sex.
Interesting. Them never having sex one-on-one again throws me for a loop for what this dynamic is. I think I have my finger on what it is.
Okay, I want to hear because I think I know what it is too.
I'm still confused by that aspect of it, but what I think is going on is I think that Matt only wants to be with Amani, and I think he enjoys having sex with another woman and is like, oh, psyched that his wife is cool with that. But honestly, I think if he had to choose between them, he'd totally choose Amani.
Yes.
I think that Amani, figuring out her is hard because it defies all logic. But basically, I think she wants to be married to both Matt and Ani. But basically, fundamentally, I think that she shouldn't be married to Matt. Clearly, they got married too young, and she's not fully satisfied by him for whatever reason, which is why she wants to be married to someone else. And yeah, I don't know. Honestly, she's hard to nail down exactly. But that's my working theory. And I think that Ani puts up with Amani because she wants to marry Matt legally and then be able to live in the US and have a sugar daddy. I don't think that Ani is even like necessarily attracted to Amani, or like I don't think she loves her for sure.
I agree. The one thing that throws me off is the time that Ani told Amani she was more in love with her and basically just like puts up with Matt. But I kind of feel like she just said that to make Amani happy.
I think so. I think she's intimidated by Amani because Amani is so unstable and genuinely scary and uses money to manipulate Ani, money that Ani needs. And I think that she said that because she knew that Amani would just respond well to some dramatic shit like that. And I think it was a lie.
I do get confused. And even at this point, Amani says, like, in the reunion that she thinks Ani is more into men. So it's just confusing. And then it's revealed that Matt visits Ani a lot without Amani because Amani's too focused on her business, which, okay, I'm sorry. This reminded me of one very niche thing, which is when Colton Underwood, the Bachelor, before he came out as gay, was saying he's a virgin because he was like too busy playing professional football.
Oh.
And I'm just like, no, you're not. Like, a lot of other people do it and they do find time. So like, I think you could do both if it was like a priority. I just feel like Amani being like, I'm too focused on my business. I'm like, I don't understand how that precludes her from going down to Mexico for a weekend.
Or like having sex with Matt. I feel like she was saying that she's not having sex with Matt even because she said that being a business owner and a mom, she can't find the time to have sex. She just said sex at all. She didn't say sex with Ani. And then I feel like the implication is that's why she's fine with Matt going down to Mexico because there he can get the sex that he wants. And I'm like, oh, that's a really weird dynamic, I think, even in a throuple.
No, something weird is happening. It's very odd.
It's weird. And Sarper has a good line. He says, so you give a toy to Matt, talking about Ani. And I'm like, normally I would not like the dehumanizing language, but I actually think that's exactly how Matt and Amani view Ani. So I think that's spot on.
I agree. And then Ani at this point says that people assume she's more into Matt, but it's just that she and Amani haven't had enough quality time. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think if everybody on earth thinks you're more into him, like they might be picking up on something that is real.
Yeah.
But
also,
whatever.
why have you made the time to have quality time with Matt and not Amani?
It feels like the opportunity would have been there.
Yes.
So whatever. At this point, the host brings up Amani's plastic surgery again and asks Matt point blank how he feels about Amani's new look. And he says he'll always he basically says something about it's like kind of like media coach in a way, the way he's like, oh, like I will always love her no matter what. Like he's not saying
it's her
I
body,
love the way she looks,
blah blah blah.
And then Amani jumps in and says that Matt and Ani were criticizing her looks, and this was part of the reason why she felt the need to get all these surgeries.
And she specifically is like, you and Ani did say that I didn't have an ass, I didn't look attractive, that I was too skinny.
And then Matt's like, yeah, I did say you were too skinny because we were concerned because you didn't look healthy. I think apparent from the outside that they did make a comment about her body, but I believe them that it was a comment based on concern. And she just extrapolated they think I'm too skinny and now I'm ugly. And I don't think that's what they meant at all.
Yeah. And that sounds very Amani is to just completely project her own insecurities and blow things out of proportion.
Yes, I agree. And then Ani says that she does support Amani, but she thinks the new look is just too much. And at this point, Matt says he begged Amani not to get all the surgeries.
It's heartbreaking to me.
It's really weird. And Amani has, I don't know if I mentioned this, she's blaming them, but also she said it seems like she got negative feedback online, or there was something, she keeps blaming the culture for the fact that she had to get so many surgeries.
But I'm like, that was your choice. People didn't start a GoFundMe and force you to go to the appointment. I do feel for her that I'm sure people are mean online. I don't doubt that there's a large number of people who are total cunts to the people who are on the show and really mean, especially to a woman, about her looks. That said, Amani, I'm sure that happens to literally all of the women on this show, and not everyone got the work that you got done. That was a personal choice, and I find it frustrating that she won't admit that.
Honestly, I feel unless it's reconstructive or gender affirming, surgeons should categorically be saying no to people who want to get 5 surgeries done at once.
Totally agreed.
Like, I literally think you need to have like a mandatory mental health check before getting 5.
The way that, as far as I'm aware, transgender people have to like go through like psychological screening before getting any surgeries done, and then just a random cis woman can go in and get her whole body botched, no question. It's crazy to me.
The language around this is so fascinating. I mean, I want to like write a book about it. It's just the way Amani wants people to sympathize with her. Like, she really uses this language of like she was forced to do it by society, not by a specific person, by society. And even like, she's like, I don't like the way I look. I don't see myself in the mirror. Post-surgery, she's like, I don't recognize myself anymore. I'm having an identity crisis. All these things. And like, I think later she talks about how it's really hard having daughters and like, you know, having changed the features that her daughters also have, that, you know, and it just kind of sounds like it was really impulsive. And like, it scares me that someone can like, during like a manic episode or something, just like completely change their whole face and body. I don't know what the safeguards are that I'm wanting, but I don't know why she did this.
And why she was allowed to. Like, it's really, I found this the saddest part of the reunion. I really think it looks like she's not even happy that she got it done. I'm sorry, she looks horrible. She really looks insane.
Genuinely disturbing, both the look and the fact that, at least like a Shekinah, I'll be like, damn, she looks really botched. But then she's like, I love my look. And I'm like, okay.
Stand on it.
Personal choice. If you like it, I love it, you know? But with Amani, I'm like, okay, why did we do this? Like, why did we spend all this money, time, pain, whatever, for something you didn't even want to do? And like, I'm not going to pretend I know what it feels like to be on a reality show and to be like such a public figure. But I do struggle with people who are like, I had to, like, society made me. And I'm like, no, like, nobody made you.
No.
I think we need to be like a little stronger in our resolve of like who we are. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine just based on external factors being like, I'm going to just change everything about the way I look.
I have empathy for Amani in this moment, but it was her choice.
Yes. And the overwhelming feeling I have for her is sadness. I'm not even judging her, but it is just interesting. Like, you know, these like cultural beauty standards, I mean, this is like the air we breathe. I mean, we're all like swimming in the water of weird beauty standards, which are arbitrary and like largely set by pedophiles. And I just find it hard when people aren't able to do more to like identify and resist those things. You know, that just makes me sad. And it's not even a character assassination or like I'm just like, that's sad because like it's this arbitrary random thing and like you let it affect your entire life, and that it makes me really sad.
Totally.
But guess what? This isn't even the fucking end of their hot seat. That was just one of like 10 things.
Yes.
There is another big theme that is brought up with the throuple. Amani and Shekinah, like they're just beefing. Like they're having this weird tension.
Throughout the whole episode, they've been like fighting. We haven't covered every instance, but basically anytime someone's talking, they interject themselves and then they start yelling at each other. And
there's been like hints about like a conversation on Instagram, but we didn't get the details until right now. In addition to like the kind of vague information we heard earlier about Amani having warned Shekinah should be a bitch, what we learn here is that Shekinah DM'd Amani asking if Ani was trans and been like, don't tell Ani, but I'm curious.
Yet another example of the queer theme being taken in a really crazy direction.
I want to like go through what is said and then I want to talk about it. But basically in this moment, it's revealed that Amani did tell Ani, which I mean, I think is to be expected.
Yeah. I'm also not sure if that's even the wrong thing to do. I don't know. I think that's fair.
It's a weird situation. And then Amani is presenting this as like, that was really weird that Shekinah did this. And then Shekinah is like kind of being purposefully obtuse. She's like, I don't get like the problem. Like, why are you acting like it's shameful?
And she was like basically accusing Amani of being transphobic for being offended by that question. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure how to articulate it, but that's certainly incorrect.
And so Amani at this point asks like all the other women in the room if they would be offended if someone thought they were trans. And I'm like, girl, Alliya is right there. Like, be.
It's also, that's not what it's about. Like, it's not I hope it's not that the being trans would be anything shameful. It's just like, it's so disingenuous for Shekinah to pretend that she that is not a weird question to ask.
Also, you just can't be asking people like really invasive questions who you like don't know.
You don't
like
know them. It's also, if someone is transgender, that is not something you get to learn by asking, I would say in general. It's something that if someone would like to share that with you, that's their choice and you go, oh, okay, cool. But I think in general, even if it's quote unquote obvious, you don't get to ask someone that. That is an inappropriate, invasive question.
And like this culture of like transvestigating, it really just hurts everyone. I mean, it's just,
yes,
if someone
cis
wants
women.
you to know, if someone's trans and they want you to know, they'll tell you. If not, it's not relevant. So Amani is like asking everyone like to chime in, like if they think it's offensive, and like then Shekinah is like, no, it's not offensive because trans women are beautiful. Like I think you're anti-trans, and again, it's like, you know, kind of.
Shut up.
I appreciate Shekinah's spirit in the sense that she's like, why would it be shameful? But like, you're the one who's transvestigating, so don't be acting like you're such an ally here. And then Ani at this point jumps in by the iPad. Every time she jumps in, it's so funny because it's like so disjointed. It's like, you know, a news host where there's like a bit of a delay.
Yeah.
But Ani says, of course I love the trans, but you tell me I'm trans? And she goes, look at you, to Shekinah. And you make new surgery for changing your face? You look the trans. Come on, girl.
I'm like, okay, Ani.
And then Alliya just goes, that's insane for me. And I'm like, it is. It is insane.
Alliya, it's insane for us too.
So, okay, now that I've explained the full details of what happened, please take it away.
So I just like to say, I mean, there's so many thoughts running through my head right now, but I'm just going to call bullshit on Shekinah being like, I didn't mean it in like a offensive way or whatever. Or like, oh my God, you must be transphobic if you're like offended by that question, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, Shekinah, so which one is it? Is it that you have the mindset that that is a totally okay question to ask someone that you don't even know, and why would it be shameful at all, blah, blah, blah? Or is it that you didn't want Amani to tell Ani because you're worried what Ani would think of that question being posed? You can't have both of those be true at once.
I know, and she really struggled to justify that because I think people were kind of like, and why would you say don't tell Ani? Like if you, and it's just like, well, it's, you guys are all anti-trans. It's really disingenuous. And I do want to come back to this topic in a broader sense. Like we're considering doing like a little maybe bonus episode to dive into these themes a little more because there's so much more I want to say, and there's so much more I feel needs to be said, and there's like not an adult in the room like saying what needs to be said. So I would love for us to kind of jump in a little bit. So us not going more deep into it right now is not because we don't have more to say. I just feel like I want to get through the other stuff. But I just want to say I find it really unforgivable how poorly this show handles these issues. Like both with the trans topic and the bisexual topic, like people are just out here saying whatever, and then people are trying to like school each other, but then like what they're saying isn't even better. It's like offensive in a different way. You can't be telling people you look trans. Are you trans? It's so invasive. It's not because it's bad to be trans. Obviously, we don't think that. But to imply that trans people look a certain way, that's already one thing that I find a little bit questionable because there's a huge range of what cis people look like. There's a huge range of what trans people look like.
Yes.
I just also think we don't need to be asking people really intimate questions about themselves. And I think, unfortunately, so often when people do have a question about someone being trans, it ends up being a really invasive question about like their genitals or like things that like are not things you ask random people. And as an adults, we don't ask strangers, like, you know, we teach kids not to be like, see someone in a wheelchair and be like, what's wrong with that person? You know what I mean? Like, we teach children, like, you know, you don't get to ask people invasive questions that you're just seeing on the street. Like, we need to, you know, be respectful. And I feel like with adults, I'm like, why is it that when someone is maybe trans, the regular rules go out the window?
Yep.
And again, unfortunately, Amani said something that I was like, you're right. She said, if I'm wondering if someone's trans, I keep that shit to myself. I said, yeah.
It's really bad, Shekinah, if Amani is making you look like the crazy one.
And then Alliya at this point jumps in, which I appreciate having her perspective.
I feel bad for her that she like has to defend.
I know, I feel bad for that she has to be, but I was glad she said something. But she basically said like people are always trying to find masculinity in trans women, and she thinks that was a weird comment from Shekinah. And then like they're trying to pin it. They're like, do you think it's rude? And she's like, I don't know that it's rude, but she just doesn't get why she kind of asked. And Shawn says it wasn't a necessary question, which I agree. Because I also think going down the rabbit hole of, oh, it's rude to call someone's trans. I mean, it's rude to ask because it's personal, but I think some people take it the wrong way to be like, it's rude to imply someone's trans. You know what I mean? It's so convoluted. Yeah. So, but I think their framing was right. It's not a necessary question. It's a weird thing to ask someone, period.
Yes. Also, like, Shekinah, don't pretend to be so obtuse that you don't understand just the reality of, like, trans women are an extremely vulnerable group.
We can't be outing people. I know.
Globally, it's not really a thing that is a safe thing to be open about for most trans women, which is a horrible reality. But, like, it's not just about, like, shame. It's, like, literal physical safety. Mm-hmm. So shut up. Don't weaponize transphobia in your stupid attempt to, like, just satisfy your own curiosity. Like, it's so disgusting, actually.
I agree. Anyway, I wish we were done with the throuple, but unfortunately we're not, because there's another thing that comes up, which is that they bring out their, like, former poly friend Eric, who we originally met on the boat.
Retired poly.
And Sarper goes, what a cult they are. Anyway, they're just talking about, like, this guy's take on their relationship, and it's not even worth getting that into. But the one thing that is identified is that the financial element is weird. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're paying Ani to sort of be in the relationship is complicated. And we, like, recap this final fight we just saw about, you know, Amani not sending the rent money. And by the way, it was $4,000 she was trying to send. So just, like, for a sense of what money we're talking about, it seems like a lot for rent.
I'm like, that sounds like San Diego rent where they live. I'm like, that doesn't sound like Guadalajara rent. I don't think you're just paying for rent.
I know. So, like, you know, this was the fight where Amani was, like, really nasty and, like, really demeaning and offensive to Ani for being a stripper. And then, like, I thought this was kind of random. Shawn jumps in and he, like, was really emotional. He's like, I was rooting for you, but I just hate the slut shaming. And he's like, I was like, Shawn
came across good in a number of ways this episode, and that was one of them. And he was, like, genuinely emotional, like he was on the verge of tears. Like, he was really feeling for Ani. I was like, I've never seen empathy from you one time. I'm liking this, but I'm confused.
And then people are just, like, curious about how much money is involved in this relationship, which thank God they asked, because I'm curious too. Ani says they send her $2,000 a month for rent.
Sorry, that feels high for her area. That feels really high. I think that they're not just paying for rent.
I know, or they maybe they think they're just paying for rent, but I don't think they are. And then also they send her, like, luxury gifts. They pay for her to travel, and they say they've probably sent her $60K, which is, you know, not nothing. This is just a side note, but at this point, like, Juan says that he thinks Ani's focus on money is a red flag, and then he and Ani start fighting in Spanish, and I'm just like, oh, Juan, I'm so happy you get to speak Spanish.
I know, I had the same thought. That's how bad it is for him.
I mean, at this point, basically, like, everyone's chiming in, the host is getting involved, friend Eric is involved, and everyone agrees that the money situation is weird. That it's a red flag, that basically Amani is, as much as Amani is a walking red flag, people also think it's a red flag that whenever money is on the line, that's when Ani kind of, like, withdraws and is, like, sort of threatening, and that, like, Amani is afraid to not give Ani money because she thinks Ani will no longer want to be with her if there's no money involved. Like, that is not great.
Nope, not great.
Then there's, like, one additional moment where Sarper asks, like, a little bit more about kind of the dynamic, and Amani says that their, like, kind of arrangement is that she pays Ani's rent so that Ani doesn't have to dance anymore.
But because Amani gets jealous when Ani does dance of, like, men looking at her, touching her. So it's like, it's not like Ani is like, God, I just don't want to be a stripper anymore. And Amani's like, here, baby, here's the money. You don't have to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's still for
it is still
Amani.
Selfish. So then Sarper asks Ani, like, oh, does Ani still dance? And Amani says no, but Ani says yes.
Interesting. I mean, Ani has expressed multiple times that, yeah, of course, like, getting money from them is nice, but she doesn't want to give up her autonomy in her career.
Yeah. And then final thing that we learn here is that they have, in fact, hired a divorce lawyer and are initiating the divorce process. And everyone's like, do you guys want to wait maybe?
Yeah. They're like, no. What's wrong?
And then that was the end of their very long, extended hot seat. So then there's, like, another break where, like, there is random shit happening. One thing I just thought was really funny is that, number one, the Shekinah and Amani fight continues. I didn't even care about this, but I loved that Matt got involved. I said to Shekinah, he said, my God, you are the sourest person here. Fucking sour apple candy. And I was like,
Matt.
What? That's, like, his version of, like, the Turkish phrases. No, fucking sour apple candy.
Matt is such a weird dude.
But I want to start calling people that.
Sour apple candy ass.
You sour apple candy ass bitch. And then there's, like one other moment that I loved when they're like sitting back on the couches waiting for, you know, the show to start back up. Matt is like telling Ani he wishes she were there, and he's like, the like iPad I'm referring to is actually like a TV screen that's like on wheels on like a stick, and he's like caressing the stick of the TV screen, and I'm like, you know, that's not really her, and she can't see that you're doing that, right?
So yeah.
And then here there's like some dumb fucking shit, which is that Shekinah and Sarper are fighting, and then like Sarper gets up and it seems like he's storming off, but then he comes back with like a wedding ring and a new engagement ring for Shekinah, which was like a big fight earlier, was that there's no wedding band. The way Shekinah sees this big diamond and like a flip switches. They're totally in love again.
They like definitely fucked after this like crazy.
They're so toxic, it's actually insane.
She literally like started crying, I think. She's like, oh my God,
she's
can't
so
believe
emotional.
It also was cracking me the fuck up because everyone around them was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And they kept saying congratulations. And I'm like, congratulations on what? They're already married.
What have we achieved?
It's
I
just
know.
giving a congrats on, but they were saying it like to Sarper. And I'm like, congrats on what? Giving a gift? It was so funny.
I know.
So now we have Juan and Jessica in the hot seat, and it's revealed by Juan that back in Colombia he was building apartments but doesn't have the money to pay for the construction anymore. So he's in debt, and he won't accept Jessica's financial help, like because of pride, basically.
But I'm like, you guys are married. That's so weird.
Like, your debt is her debt now, so
Yeah.
let her help you. But whatever. He has his green card, but he's been having a hard time finding a job that he likes, is an important thing to note. He says that he has been doing kind of like delivery jobs and whatnot, but he doesn't have like a full-time or like W-2 gig. They bring Megan on, Jessica's friend, and she says that Juan, this was really confusing to me because they kind of are rehashing like the whole cheating allegations and how upset Megan is about it. And she says something I'm really confused by. She says Juan cheated on Jessica a week after they went on the cruise for her bachelorette party. Oh, Megan's bachelorette party? Because I was like, what do you mean bachelorette party? How did Jessica have two before she was even engaged? I think it was Megan's. I was so confused about that.
They were engaged when he cheated because she was 8 months pregnant.
So she went on a cruise.
Can you even go on a cruise when you're 8 months pregnant?
I'm really confused by this. Okay, anyway. Guys, cruise people weigh in. I'm really genuinely confused by that, but whatever. Basically, I think I'm confused by the logistics here, but I think what she's saying is that he cheated on Jessica when he had just seen her, which I do think does change things, because I had been rationalizing it as much as you can as like, oh, well, it was COVID, they couldn't see each other, blah, blah,
he really
blah.
missed
but I'm like,
her.
yeah, and like they're in this fucked up situation, blah, 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 but it's like it was a week after they saw each other. That's totally different to me. That actually makes me rethink it a lot.
I agree.
Anyway, so Megan does acknowledge that her like crying in her confrontations with Juan was a bit much. So I like this. Like Megan was like, yeah, like that was kind of crazy. Megan does though kind of explain why she was so emotionally involved in it, which is that she felt like she's been a part of Jessica and Juan's relationship since day one because she was there when they met on the cruise ship, and she's the one that held the phone to let Juan see his son's birth over video call, and like she's been basically raising the kids with Jessica while Juan hasn't been there. And yeah, like, I mean, that's kind of what we thought. Like, that is really intimate. And I do understand why she feels like she has a lot of emotional involvement in this couple.
She also does confirm, which I think we knew, that she's really more upset about Jessica withholding it than Juan.
I was really happy to hear that because it wasn't so clear if she was correctly directing that anger before this. Getting back to the topic of Juan's career, Megan says that she and her husband Herbie have been references for Juan for jobs that Jessica applied to for him, I will say. She mentioned that. But he turns down the job because it's not exactly what he wants. And it's, as he said, very Greg vibes.
My favorite part of this whole conversation, though, is Shekinah going, how is there that many places in your town to apply to?
Loki, I was surprised too. But basically it becomes extremely clear, kind of explicitly, that Juan, like, his job on the cruise is his dream job. Straight
It's the only thing he wants to do, yeah.
It's the only thing he wants to do. I mean, even Mark chimes in because he's like, I mean, I kind of get him. You know, my dream is to be a pilot, and I am one, and I work so hard for it. And like the idea of being told like I can't do it anymore, like he's just empathizing. He's like, yeah, like that would be awful. And Juan says that the only reason he's here in the U.S. is to be with his son. There's no other reason, he says. And Megan calls out that he should have said it's for his son and Jessica. And someone kind of yells at her for this, like, well, that's not your business. Like, it's their business. But I'm like, I don't know. I think she's right. Like, I don't know. That's fucked up.
Okay, I'm not trying to get back into our thing of like what's happening with their relationship, but this is like a little bit kind of what I'm referring to, where I'm like, I don't feel he's very attached to Jessica. Like, again, we're different, but if I had to get a job that would make me be away from my spouse for
6 to 8 months at a time, yeah,
6 to 8 months, I would be like, I don't want to be away from you. I mean, or at least it would be like a major consideration.
Yeah.
But to be like if they didn't have a kid, he would be back on the cruise, like without a doubt. That's interesting to me.
You know, it's funny because like how you in the finale, not like completely softened to Jessica and Juan, but like you felt like you understood their connection more. In this tell-all, I like iced or whatever no, I don't want to use that word maybe, but like I hardened to Jessica, and that sounds wrong.
I got so hard.
I got really hard when I was watching this. No, but I don't like them as a couple as much anymore. I felt like I concretely saw what you've been talking about. That, of course, I've always acknowledged as like possible scenarios, but I'm like, I don't know, we don't fully know, and I hope for the best. But in this, I was like, oh yeah, you guys shouldn't be together. Like, for either of you, this is not the life that, it's probably better for Jessica, but this is not better for Juan in a way that I'm like, fundamentally, I'm like, well, I don't know why you guys had a kid together. Like, I don't know why you put yourselves in this situation.
I think we can agree on that, and like, again, I think where I've landed is like, I believe they had fun when they were like seeing each other on cruises and going on vacation together. Like, I do believe that was fun for them. And I think their day-to-day lives aren't compatible. So it's like, okay.
It's also like having fun on vacation doesn't really mean a lot.
It's really easy to have fun on vacation because it's fun to be on vacation.
I think actually if you're not having fun on vacation with someone, that means like you desperately should not be around them, whether they're a friend or a romantic partner. Like, that's impressive to do. But yeah, it's like base level.
I agree.
And okay, interesting tea. The host says that Juan has been getting a lot of attention online and asks if women DM him. And the host asks if he responds, and he's like, yeah, of course, I'm a nice person. And everyone gets mad at this, especially the women. And they're like, you shouldn't respond. Like, that's not being nice. You kind of know what you're doing. Like, why are you giving attention to women who are flirting with you in your DMs? But then he kind of defends himself by saying that Jessica has his login for like social media post cheating. That's just kind of like their rule. And I'm like, yeah, famously, you can't possibly make a new social media that she doesn't have access to where you chat and delete the message. Like, I'm like, yeah, there's no way around it. Yeah, sure. When she's at work, you're not messaging girls and then deleting it before she gets home. Sure.
Also, not Joan chiming in and revealing that Greg responds to his DMs. And I'm like, girl, it's different. Getting a message that's like, you're so sexy, and he's like, wow, what a compliment. And then you're like,
and he shows it to Joan like, look, someone thinks I'm and she's like, girl, what's that?
Whereas Juan is like, and where are you located, by the way?
Yeah, I'm seeing how the cheating happened more and more. I'm like, Juan, okay, this is disappointing. Okay, I kind of stopped having like notes about them because I feel like that was pretty much it.
That was the last thing I had to.
But then something interesting happens where I haven't mentioned it, but they do have a random 90-dayer also there during the conversation. Some lady named Danielle. Maybe she's famous. I don't know who this is.
It pissed me the fuck off when she's like, well, that's like me and Johan. I'm like, I don't know you, and I certainly don't know Johan.
I guess this guy that she is with like cheated on her, so that's why they brought her out, because it's like a cheating storyline.
And they're still together, which is wonderful.
But the one good thing about her is, boy, was she dramatic, because she and Shekinah start beefing, and then that continues. Like, I didn't even write down the details of the beef because honestly I didn't get it. Like, clearly they have history, but like they're like kind of going at each other. And then filming kind of wraps, and backstage, now Mahdi is getting activated on Shekinah's behalf, which was so fucking random. And he goes up to Shekinah and is like empathetically saying like, man, like you have too many haters, Shekinah. And in another area backstage, everyone else is kind of sitting together eating their food. Mahdi goes over and confronts Danielle about it, like for coming for Shekinah. And then everyone gets into a screaming match. Mahdi is screaming, Stevi is screaming, Shekinah, Danielle. Danielle at one point stands up from the couch and gets up in Mahdi's face and is like, you stop pointing your finger at me. You put that fucking finger down. Like, it is like almost Bad Girls Club level. Like, these people are screaming at each other.
And by the way, watching these sort of alliances form, I don't want to be too dramatic, but it was very much giving Axis and allies during the Second World War. I mean, it was like you're seeing these like mega alliances. I don't know who's the Axis and who's the allies in this situation, and I'm not going to go. I don't want anyone coming for me because I'm equating them to like some of the worst
like Nazis
sort of people on earth, but
it was just like some crazy random alliances were forming.
Mega alliances, and then they're like fighting each other, and I'm like, you guys are all crazy. Like, there's really no need to like align with one crazy versus another, but you know.
One amazing moment from this was we get just a shot of Alliya eating her food, just like watching everyone, which is really cute. And she in an interview was like, yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to eat my food. I was so hungry. She's so cute.
You know, not in front of my salad.
In front of my salad. and then we cut to like later, like post the fight, like, you know, like everyone's like, walk away. And it kind of wraps up and everyone's like so heated from it. And then we like get a moment of Shekinah and Sarper like in the bathroom with the door open, both brushing their teeth, like bitching about Danielle. And I'm like, you know, as problematic as Shekinah and Sarper are, there is something so charming about their dynamic when they're good together.
Well, that's the thing is, it's funny, is like, I don't think their relationship is better than Juan and Jessica's, but I see it. I really get what it is. You know what I mean? I get the dynamic and I get what their moments are.
Yes. Yeah. I think like the good versions of Shekinah and Sarper actually have so much in common, even lifestyle wise. Yeah.
So next up is Mark and Mina, and the host is like starts with asking about their life in Boston, which, you know, unsurprisingly Mina likes a lot more than New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But Mark is still keeping the house in New Hampshire long term. But they are considering either staying in Boston or even potentially moving to France.
Yep, which I like that.
Good for them. I'm glad they're open. So the host asks about an online post saying Mina was an exotic dancer 8 years ago, and that's how she met Mark. Deep. And Mina says it's not a false rumor, but she didn't meet Mark in the club.
I loved this reveal that she was, I assume that means like a stripper. I love that.
This thrilled me because it led to a fantastic set of dominoes falling. Because Mina says she was working as an exotic dancer and, you know, she was doing it to make ends meet, to take care of her child, which, you know, I respect.
Period.
And then she reveals Mark also worked in a strip club, but just as a bartender.
Mina, don't get us excited. Like, and why did I fully believe it too? When I thought that he was a stripper, I was like, I see that.
I know, same. Then the host asks about Mina's stage name. And like Sarper chimes in to say his stage name was Alex when he was a stripper, which is like the funniest stripper name I've ever heard.
It's just like a regular name, and Mina's like, oh my god, that's my sister's name.
Yeah, true. And then Mina says her stripper name was Divine, and then she says how she picked the name. This is the funniest shit I ever heard. She goes, it was inspired by my cousin who's named Divine. I'm like, who picks a stripper name based on your cousin?
Well, to be like, I was inspired by, and I'm like,
inspired by,
but it just
not
is
like a character
that.
Or something. Yeah. I know. Then we learned that Matt used to be a stripper.
So, sorry, half of the cast is bisexual and also half of the cast is a stripper.
Everyone's a stripper. And that he used to do bachelorette parties and his stripper name was Hudson.
Oh my god, Hudson Williams. But honestly, Matt being a stripper, I was like, yeah.
It tracks 100%.
I would have only been gagged if it was like the reveal was that Greg was a stripper. You know what I mean? Like that, I would be like, what?
Everyone else, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. They bring out Jordan. And this is kind of funny because I just feel like the drama with Jordan is just so over. This is, in case you've forgotten, Mark's adult daughter. And so it's like, it really is reheated nachos. It's like, nobody cares at this point.
Yeah.
So they do like the obligatory recap of all the drama. And then the host asks Jordan how she feels about being called a hypocrite and a snake. Oh, what's she going to say?
I feel awesome,
She's like, I didn't love it, but like I was too quick to judge Mina. And this was pretty shocking. Mark at this point takes accountability for his insane triangulation. He's like, I shouldn't have told every single person what the other people were telling me in confidence. I'm like, wow, yeah.
Sure. I appreciated that.
Me too. And like one other topic that had come up in the recap was Jordan saying she doesn't want them to have more kids. And then Joan at this point jumps in and is like, you can't decide if they should have more kids or not. And I'm like, Joan, you're having a weird thing right now because I agree. It's not up to Jordan, but like, I feel like you're projecting the fact that Lucille told you don't have kids living in my house, please.
Yet, Joan, that's your own shit. Keep it to yourself. This is
it
not
was
what
like
we're talking
weird.
about.
I was like, okay, I feel like we're kind of like over the topic, but thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
And Jordan like does concede like it is their choice, and then Mark's like, that's great because Mina's pregnant. Just kidding.
I fully believed him too. I'm like, you can't, Mark. It's not good to joke about people being pregnant. I think it's kind of like a sensitive subject for some.
But Mark and Mina also share that they're not using protection.
Ew, ew.
Which Jordan says TMI.
I agree, Jordan, and I'm not even his daughter. I was like, ew, ew, ew. But then again, like, the host is like, oh, so are you guys, like, trying to have children? They're like, I guess we're not trying. And I'm like, what is up with people having unprotected sex and not realizing that that's trying for a baby? Like, the sex education in this country is genuinely so shit. I'm like, that's what you're doing. Admit it.
I know, because if you're having unprotected sex, you could be pregnant today.
Yeah.
You could be pregnant tomorrow. Don't act like, well, we started now, so it's probably going to take us 3 years. So it's probably...
Okay.
Yeah. Then we get to the topic that I was really curious about, which is whether Clayton is in America. And he's not in America yet. And Mina hasn't seen him in 11 months.
Holy shit. I'm not kidding that the thing I was looking forward to the most about the reunion is I was like, well, they're definitely going to bring Clayton out and it's going to be this beautiful moment. And the fact that he's not here yet.
They did say that Mina had just gotten her green card 1 week prior. And so like the first thing they're planning is to go visit Clayton now that Mina has her green card. And so this is the only like non-reunion spoiler I'll share just because I think people might be curious, which is what I learned is that Clayton and Mina are Angolan citizens. Mm-hmm. And but French residents at the time, and Clayton seemingly did not have a passport at all. He'd never had a passport, and like there was somehow confusion about that. And I don't even want to be too judgy about that, but I am confused how there was confusion.
No, I want to be judgy
that.
about it because it seems that Mark and Mina thought that Mina's son Clayton could just travel on her passport. I'm like, yeah, no. When has that ever been the case? Also, he's a pilot. How could he not know this? I'm sorry, I will judge that.
And not just travel, but like
immigrate.
Yeah, that's the thing is, even if Clayton were a French immigrant, which, you know, it seems like he's not, and he could come to the US for a visit, you can't like lie to the government and say, oh, this is my son he just is visiting me, but also we live here now. Like that wouldn't work. Like he would have to be authorized to move and live there.
So weird. Like, I will judge that. That's stupid. They should have talked to a lawyer.
Agree. I am confused. They certainly had lawyers involved, so I'm confused why this wasn't flagged. To me, to a large degree, it seems avoidable, and it just seems like really genuinely traumatic for this child to like unexpectedly be away from his mom for 11 months plus. So I really am confused and upset by this.
I know. I'm sorry, but it really does seem like poor planning on the parents' behalf, and then everyone suffers as a result. But obviously, most of all, the child, because he doesn't fully understand what's going on.
I want to be clear. The one thing I don't want to be judgy about is just like passport privilege. Like some countries, the bureaucracy is easier than others. And I do suspect this would have been a lot easier if you were a French citizen. That being said, the fact that the parents didn't like research this is crazy to me. And I will judge that as well, because like I don't understand how they let this happen.
And it's not as if it were processing and then it just was taking longer than they thought. It's like they hadn't even started that process, it seems, of getting him an Angolan passport.
So anyway, that's really upsetting. I'm happy that they're reunited now, but that obviously is so distressing. At this point, the show, you know, someone in the show could read the room and sense the vibe is a bit down. What's going to cheer everyone back up? Sarper doing stand-up.
It was so bad.
It was really bad. And the focus of this stand-up was Matt, the throuple, but focus on Matt. And he's like basically joking how like every man is jealous of Matt, but they shouldn't be. They should actually feel sorry for him because the only advantage to Matt's situation is that he gets to have more sex. But he says, quote, "Isn't it like playing golf? Does it matter how many holes are out there when you only have one stick to play?" And then he basically just goes on about how it's everything bad times 2, like twice the PMS. And he's like, you shouldn't just feel sorry for Matt. You should feel sorry for him times 2. Not the double PMS.
It's squared, actually, yeah. Women be like,
I'm on my period.
Dude, also they were cutting to all of the different couples laughing, and I'm like, straight up, I think that these shots were cut in from different times when something funnier happened, because nothing he said was funny, and the way that it seemed as though they were like, and everything he said, and I'm like, for sure that was edited. For sure. So, it is now Shawn and Alliya's hot seat time, and they are the very last couple. And the host is like announcing like, okay, up next is Shawn and Alliya. And then Shawn interrupts her and says, I can't do this. It's weird. And he walks off set, and Alliya, we get shots of Alliya looking shocked. Everyone is like, what? And then it just turns out he goes over to Mahdi and fixes his hair. And it's like a bit.
I know.
Good one, Shawn. Good one. Good to make fun of the like genuine trials and tribulations of your relationship, that is something that like would actually happen. Like I fully believed it.
I know.
Okay, so basically we get into the questioning.
The host is saying how their story is just fascinating.
And she's like, this is the first time we've had anything like this before on the show.
I agree these are two fascinating characters, but I can't help but feel like the subtext is that it's just crazy that someone transitioned during a relationship. And like, again, this is a thing where it's like, I'm not accusing this host or anything. Like, I don't think this is egregious, but I just feel like, can you imagine having like a gay couple and being like, this is just fascinating. Like, it's just a weird energy to bring, and it makes me just like sad to see what a niche topic this is still treated as. I know this show came out like a year ago, so it's probably filmed 2 years ago. I do think our collective consciousness has evolved a little bit in the past few years, but I don't know. I just feel like it's interesting for them to be acting like this, like the craziest shit in the world, and it's like, it is, but not for the reasons that they think.
Yeah, it's weird because like Shawn's a weirdo. It's not because Alliya is transgender.
And they have a crazy age gap.
I agree. I really feel like it just reminds me that like, sadly, I do live in a bubble when it comes to stuff like this. And like, I'm like so normal to me. And it just isn't for the majority of people, even in this country. And it's like, yeah, just like a sad reminder of that. I really feel like the way that people talk about, and I didn't even think that it was handled particularly poorly in the reunion, but I just feel like the way that people talk about transgender stuff is like how we talked about gay stuff like 20 years ago. So basically the host brings up their disastrous wedding, and Alliya says that, yeah, the wedding was not her dream wedding, but they're moving on from it, anyway, which is really all you can do other than get divorced. And I think they might want to consider that option. But yeah, you just do have to move on. Jackie now is brought on, which is Shawn and Alliya's friend, but mainly Alliya's friend. And it's revealed that Shawn took their honeymoon alone for a month, which is really crazy. Everything that was revealed here, I was so confused as to how Shawn and Alliya are looking like they're getting along so well in the moment. Like on the couch, like they're like holding hands and stuff like that. And I'm like, what? Because everything they said, I was like, this is kind of disastrous. So I wonder what happened. I have some theories, but Shawn says that he really held that grudge for months. And he said, honestly, he still has it now. So I'm like, okay, so you haven't moved on. Interesting, despite what Alliya said. And Shawn gets really upset at Jackie. Like, I don't know, he kind of looked like he was going to cry. He was like yelling. And basically he says that Jackie was who he was relying on to get Alliya to the wedding ceremony on time. And I don't know, I feel like I kind of do understand what he's saying of like, yeah, I mean, like on my wedding day, I wasn't actually checking the time. It's like I relied on people around me to be doing that. Mm-hmm. That said, like I had a bunch of people who were with me getting ready who could do that for me and who had like agreed to do that and who I was paying. But like with the whole Jackie and Alliya thing, I'm like, I don't know, it's just the two of them. And I feel like Alliya also has the ability to like look at her phone. I don't think it's like entirely Jackie's responsibility. I also feel like that wasn't extremely clear to her maybe. I think she felt like she was just hanging out or like she couldn't force Alliya to do something. So I don't know. But more than that, I feel like the way that Jackie and Shawn were arguing about this, it just felt like they were Alliya's parents and they're yelling about like, well, you didn't make it to school drop off on time. And I was like relying on you to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Do I think Jackie could have done things differently? Yeah. But the amount of anger Shawn had towards her,
it was crazy.
It's just weird. And it also, to your point, in shifting so much responsibility towards Jackie, it takes responsibility off of Alliya in this way that did feel sort of infantilizing. Like, well, we couldn't have expected her to be on top of it, so you need to be the adult and do it. And it's like, I don't know.
I feel like it's almost Shawn's way of not staying unbelievably angry at Alliya, when of course the alternative is also just to go to therapy and work through your feelings.
But it's like transferring it.
Yes, he's just transferred the anger onto Jackie, which is not fair. And Alliya does defend Jackie, and she's like, in my opinion, it was out of Jackie's hands. And Alliya says that when she was told about Shawn's mom's injury that day, she just like kind of froze and her phone wasn't with her. I think she's trying to say like that delayed her in getting ready. Like she says that like it sounded like a crew member had to like calm her down and like there was kind of like a meltdown of some sort. We weren't given enough details on this. I was like, host, you needed to be pushing for more details because what are we talking about here? I feel like this is very important.
one small detail that was mentioned here that I thought is relevant. Shawn did in fact pre-style Alliya's wig the day before.
So what happened?
Why did it take her so long to just do her makeup?
And then he said that he even like pre-braided her hair, like her natural hair too, so that she could just put the wig on. So I am like, oh, I kind of get his anger. I mean, it's still not completely justified, but like, I'm like, oh, he actually did help her a lot.
She just had to put on her dress and do her makeup, which in theory could take you less than an hour. So I'm confused.
Like if you're really stretching it 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. This didn't really give clarity. It gave more information that I felt like was important to know, but I was like, no. I want you to walk me through what is happening every minute of this getting ready session, because it doesn't make sense. So now we move on to the topic of their sex life, and this is really revealing. They said that they have been intimate twice since the wedding, and it's probably been at least 4 months, if not longer. We didn't get exact timelines for everyone, unfortunately, but that's wild to me. And Alliya says that she doesn't want to force Shawn, so she just waits. And I'm like, oh, what? And Shawn previously is obviously the one who, during the season, was the one who wanted the relationship to be open, and that's why it was, so that he could, like, fuck other people because he has such a high sex drive. And I'm like, oh, it's not boding well that this guy who has such a high sex drive is the one who's not initiating sex with you.
Also, to be clear, it's mentioned that their marriage is still open.
Yes.
And Shawn is still having sex with other people. So that's, really a good sign.
Which Alliya, like, didn't want him to do, so great.
And which he famously said was just at the time because they were long distance.
Yeah, which we called bullshit on, and we were right. Sorry, oracles. And it's acknowledged that, yeah, their marriage is open, but he's the only one who's actually having sex with other people. And Alliya says that she thinks that Shawn prefers a masculine body, and she blames herself because her body is changing, basically, and she doesn't feel attractive. And I'm like, Alliya, you're not attractive to him because he's not attracted to women. Sorry, that's, or like female bodies, whatever you would like to phrase it as. And I'm, I'm open to that. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's not that you are not attractive. That's what frustrates me so much about this pairing is I'm like, it is eroding Alliya's confidence. And that's the problem with it.
There's also one thing I want to mention, which is just coming up for me, which is I was just watching that Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary on Netflix. And like I think there are multiple men in that documentary who are in the situation, but at least one explicitly talked about having a relationship which is one-sided monogamy, where he gets to have sex with other women, but his wife doesn't get to have sex with other men.
Interesting.
And I know it's not exactly the same because Shawn is, I'm assuming, having sex with men, but I can't help but feel like how funny it is to see this, like, seemingly progressive, probably politically quite different situation converge with this like extreme right situation. Like, the man is out having sex with other people and the woman is at home alone not doing that. Like, it's just funny, like, when things
horseshoe like
what's
that.
that called when things like evolve separately, like they don't have a common ancestor but they end up like being really similar. Like, I feel like it's like that, where it's like it just is interesting to see this dynamic, which it's just like a creepy older guy having sex with other people while the younger woman's at home, like in a way that's like the MAGA dream, you know what I mean, like the trad wife. Like, it is funny how trad wife coded they are at the end, even though that's like not really their situation.
Parallel evolution is what it's called, apparently.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's really insightful. It's very interesting, actually. Now the question of bottom surgery comes up, and Shawn says things that I've been wanting him to say, and I definitely could be wrong because I don't trust Shawn, but I will admit that they felt more genuine when he was saying it this time versus previously. And Shawn says that when it comes to bottom surgery, it's her own body, but Shawn doesn't want her to do something to save the relationship. And obviously, from what we know of Shawn, to save the relationship would be to not get bottom surgery because he likes her having a penis. So I think basically what he's saying is like, I would, like, sexually, I don't want her to remove her penis, but like, I don't want her to not remove the penis for our relationship.
For me, yeah.
Which I do appreciate. And when questioned about it, he says that he still loves Alliya. And okay, the vibe I'm really getting from them is that this is a platonic marriage for the green card. The thing that does still frustrate me is just like in little comments like that, when you actually break it down, it doesn't feel that this is explicit between them. It feels like it's almost this like Cold War of like, well, this is the situation they're in, but they're kind of like still hoping or pretending that this is romantic. And I'm like, guys, it seems like you're okay with the situation you're in. And I think you'd actually become a lot more okay with it if you openly said, hey, let's not be in a romantic relationship anymore. Let's be partners in this. Let's do this together. Let's respect each other's autonomy. and like the platonic connection we have, and let's just like let go of the expectation that we are like in love with each other romantically.
And I would have an extreme amount of respect if the situation was that Shawn is like, to Alliya is like, look, I'm not attracted to you anymore because I'm gay, but I have so much love for you on a platonic, familial kind of level that I want to help you come to the US. I know it's your dream. So let's get married. We'll get you your green card. Okay. I would have a ton of respect for that.
That would be awesome if he did that.
But it's just not the vibe I get from them, because he's always talking down to her. He's always making these weird comments about how, even here, he talked about how the person he fell in love with isn't sitting next to him anymore. And she's
literally right there.
And he's just always making these comments where it's like, it's very emotionally loaded. And then Alliya clearly clings on to every word he says and takes it personally. And I just feel like...
Because she's still in love with him. She is. Because she's attracted to him. She always has been,
And so it just doesn't feel like there's been like a mutual contract. Like if that's what Shawn has told himself in his head, like, I'm doing a good thing to help this person get a green card, that's not been communicated, and it's certainly not been internalized by both people. So...
That's why it's still uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't want to be assuming it's this better version of events, because I think a lot of people would say, oh, well, Shawn's doing something nice and getting her green card. And if that were the case, I would just not want him to be like talking down to her and dead naming her and hurting her feelings and being demeaning all the time. Like, if that's the case, I would expect to see maybe distance, but not like hurting her feelings all the time. Like, there's no excuse for that. So
Agreed. And also to your point of like, I don't know, I feel like throughout, I didn't take direct notes on it, but throughout, like kind of at breaks and stuff, I feel like I heard people say to Shawn, like, you're such a good dude, bro. Like you're doing something so amazing. And I'm like, guys, like, I actually do understand why people would come to that conclusion, but I'm like, you need to be looking at this deeper. Like, you need to, that's not what's actually happening here for the reasons we just laid out. Like, if it were, we would totally be supportive.
He's being praised for standing by her when he's like barely doing that. And like, it's just...
And it's coming at a cost for her. Like, at the very least, her confidence in her attractiveness, not at the very least, the confidence in her attractiveness, her assuredness about transitioning in all ways that she would like to, like bottom surgery. Like, these are very concrete, harmful things that he is having a negative impact on. It's not okay.
And it just like, it...
And him almost like masquerading as this benevolent, like, what's the word? Almost like father figure for her, like older lover. I don't know like what the word for it is. It's like, it's gross to me. Because it's like, well, you're not so benevolent.
I agree. I also want to make a distinction between Shawn and the other people involved in the situation, which is that I do think Shawn, at a certain point, like, you have a transgender partner, you live in LA. Like, I would love for there to be a level of, at the very least, like, curiosity to learn about like best practices. And like, I know he has access to information that he's not seeking out. And I like, for example, with their whole fight where Alliya had to like beg him to not dead name her, like, that was inexcusable. Like, anybody could find out that that's not okay.
Simple Google search.
I know. With the other people on this show, it's like the other people chiming in and be like, you're such an amazing dude or whatever. It's like, I want to balance my criticism in terms of like, I know that for a lot of people this is still a fairly niche topic, and like, I don't expect everyone on earth to like get everything right on the first try. It's just more like sometimes people's language reveals deeper meaning. So like, people being like, you're such an amazing person for sticking with someone who transitioned, it's like, there's just the implication that like it's such a burden on the people around them, or it's such a whatever. And it's like, I just disagree with the premise. I don't think you have to stay with someone in transitions. I don't. If you're not attracted to them anymore, you can definitely break up with them. You're also, you can choose if you want to stay in like a platonic partnership or not at all or whatever. Like, whatever choice you make is fine. But the one thing that's not okay is just being unkind and cruel to your partner. And that's what we take issue with here. And so it's just like kind of heartbreaking to see people like not understand the ways in which Shawn is always tearing Alliya down. I mean, even things I want to say everyone else could understand, like that she doesn't want to be in an open relationship and he's pretty much forcing it. Like, who would want that? Who would want to be in that situation where you're like telling your partner, I only love you, and they're like, too bad, I don't want to have sex with you. Like, that would be hurtful regardless of if someone's trans or not. Or even being called a name you don't want to be called. Like, even if you don't know about the nuance of dead naming, like to tell your partner, don't call me that, and they still call you that. Like, I almost feel like her being trans confuses people and they forget. It makes things seem more complicated than they are in a way. And I just like, it makes me sad that it puts this weird filter of like positivity on top of it when I'm like, this is a creepy old guy who's not kind to his partner. Like, I hate that there's any reason to like view it differently because people just don't understand what being trans means. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Very well said. Alliya now reads something that she prepared. Basically, it's her reminiscing on when they first started dating, and she immediately starts crying. Like, she's very emotional reading this. And basically, she is sad that their relationship has changed, but she loves him, quote, in all my versions. And Shawn says that he loves her, will always be there for her, and they will figure life out together. And the way that they had this conversation felt like very intimate. And it was the first time that I felt genuine care from Shawn. That said, like, I think everything we've said in this whole recap of this episode and the whole season, I think it still stands. But it was literally the first time I got even a hint of empathy from him. I was like, oh, okay. Wish we leaned into this more. But again, like, I don't think it's like healthy for Alliya, even if he has good intentions. It's like he doesn't actually act well. So good intentions only mean so much.
Also, I feel like they're trying to like fool us into thinking this is a happy ending, but like even like Alliya's statement, like it was overwhelmingly sad.
Yes.
Like she said, like, you know, she remembers how much she prayed for them to be happy, and like she cries inside knowing how much things change. And like I'm like, this doesn't sound good. Like
sounds like a breakup. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like people's brains shut off when they look at this couple because they feel like there's something about it I don't understand. Therefore, I can't use any of my existing knowledge to analyze them.
I feel like people kind of see Shawn as a victim. Like, well, she transitioned even though he didn't want her to, basically. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people feel that way.
And also, one thing that I'm just thinking in my notes that we didn't say is Amani at some point mentions she thinks Shawn was put into Alliya's life to be like a transition angel.
Oh my God, what? I did not hear that.
Yeah, like she's like, I just feel like you were put into her life to, you know, guide her through this. I'm like, what?
Well, you know, Amani had some crazy like white savior bullshit mindset about her and Ani anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that she would say some whack shit like that. Brain off all the time for that lady, my God. And I mean, I will say he does apologize, I think, genuinely for being, quote, awful to Alliya at the wedding. I liked that. Thank you,
Me
Shawn.
too.
And he says that he was wrong. I will praise that. That is correct. And I appreciate that. And many other people are like really moved by this whole interaction and are crying. And yeah, I mean, I want to be able to like root it on, but I'm like, yeah, I feel like this is not an accurate representation of their relationship. So I can't.
Yeah, same.
And that's the last that we see of Shawn and Alliya. The official filming wraps fucking finally. I can't imagine how exhausted they would be. I was exhausted just watching it. I did really enjoy it though. Again, I want to hype up, guys. Honestly, watch this one. These 2 episodes, they were very engaging, but also exhausting. And of course, the cameras still stay on everyone, even like backstage and stuff. And one random interesting moment, everyone is like doing a toast together with like an alcoholic drink, and Matt says that he doesn't drink, but he like wishes he could with everyone. I was like, interesting, because I feel like so much of his relationship in that throuple feels so like substance fueled to me. Allegedly.
Always like going to like went to like a tequila plantation. He was just totally sober there.
Maybe he doesn't drink anymore. I don't know. I thought that was just like really interesting. Or maybe they only do like hard drugs. Allegedly, it's a joke. Shekinah and Sarper say goodbye to people, but not Amani and Matt. And Amani's like, that's crazy. And it's like, you've been such a... I mean, Shekinah has also been crazy to you, but like, I appreciate that Shekinah is not going to fuck around with being fake. Whereas Amani is so focused on like the optics of stuff. And I don't know, it's like so weird.
I will say Amani's whole behavior in this like after show combined with her like desire to have plastic surgery for other people, I was like, she's deeply insecure in a way that I didn't even realize, because like every time someone who she's like had beef with isn't like, love you so much, girl, she's like really hurt by it. And I'm like, what? Like, why do you care what your like reality show rival, like, it was odd to me.
It was super odd. It was, that lady needs therapy for real. And I'm not saying that to be mean. Like, I genuinely am like, you're someone who struggles with something. Like, you are moving through the world in a really chaotic and strange way. And
I agree.
Yeah, to your point, also, Amani had beef with like Stevi and Mahdi earlier when like Mahdi was yelling at that 90-day person Danielle. Or whatever. It's just like complicated, and Amani was a part of that. So anyway, like Amani also chases down Stevi and Mahdi to say goodbye, and Stevi basically is like, I don't like talking to you or Matt, which was like weird. And Amani's like, yeah, but I just wanted to say goodbye. And I'm like, that interaction was weird and whatever. And then Amani came off as incredibly desperate this whole episode.
Desperate. Yeah, that's the word I was going to use too.
Very much so. Like desperate for approval from anyone, but also desperate to win an argument. So like still getting into conflict, but then also wanting everyone to like her. And I'm like, well, you can't do it all. Like you have to choose an identity and stick to it. And Amani in an interview says that Ani says she loves Amani, but not the way that Amani loves Ani. That's like weirdly the way that the episode ends. That's at least how I have it.
I have just like a couple more updates to add that like were mentioned in this section. I thought this was like interesting, and I was like, I hate that I kind of found it smart, but we see Mark approach Juan and he's telling him to look into private yacht work. And I was like, not Mark coming in with like an actual actionable compromise.
That was really smart.
Yeah.
Fuck it. God damn it. I've really come around to Mark.
Look, we never said he was malicious or bad.
We probably said he was bad, but yeah, we're also dramatic.
Well, I don't think we said he was evil. Have we said that?
I wouldn't put it
We've
past
said
me
he's
personally.
a stupid piece of useless piece of shit.
That is different from evil.
I stand by that. Like, I'm not gonna apologize. I'm not retracting anything.
And hey, don't worry, I'm not asking you to. But I do think like I don't just like the fact that Mac Mart who fuck
Mart.
I would say Matt Mark. Fucking hell. But the fact that Mark genuinely like apologized for the triangulation and like the whatever. I mean, there's more I want him to apologize for, like not, having a fucking crib set up and all this shit. But I don't know. I find him looking more and more like an adult every day. I mean, he should be. He's in his 50s. But I do appreciate it. Like, I don't know. Like the fact that he's like trying to help someone with their career and like all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, finally some fucking like value and initiative. I with among this group of shitty men, I think he might be the best. I will say that.
And I fucking hate to say it. And you know what? Gregory would have had a chance to be the best, but he's doing this weird shit of like refusing to move out of his mom's house to everyone's detriment. And so it's looking good for Mark.
Greg really lost me a lot. Not 100%. I'm willing to get gotten back. But Mark, I mean, he's got a job. He's got money. And that's not my values, but you know what I mean? Like, he loves Mina. It seems like they have a sweet relationship. They have an adorable baby together. I don't know. There's worse men.
I know. Yeah, I mentioned this up top, but like Greg says, like at this point, he's realized that his mom wants him to move out and will try to expedite and make it a top priority. And I'm like, Greg, what the fuck? What were your other priorities?
Wasn't it your top priority the moment that Joan arrived in the U.S.?
Or even before?
No, but he was like, wait, you don't want to live here for 3 years? And she's like, no. Made it clear immediately.
But otherwise, that was that. I mean, it was, in a way, I'm disappointed to see that everyone's still together.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true. No one really broke up. Even Shekinah and Sarper, they were still together. I'm sure they banged after this.
I know, because he got the ring, so she's happy. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here throughout this entire season 11 of 90 Days Fiancé with us. It has been a true joy for me.
I've had so much fun. It's been such a journey. I mean, I remember like 5 episodes in, I was like, how the hell are we going to get to episode 19?
I know.
Or however many, 20. And we did it. I'm so proud of us. I had such a fun time. It's, by the way, just the beginning for us. This is not a goodbye.
Yeah,
but,
don't worry.
Just, you're not getting rid of us that quickly.
The goodbye would be if 90 Day Fiancé gets canceled. You know what I don't even want to say that out loud. Knock on wood.
You can't even, speak that into existence. Mm-mm. And then we find some other weird show to recap.
But anyway, we're thrilled. If you guys are listeners who don't watch the show, number one, why are you here? And I appreciate you so much that you want to hear us talk about this random thing. But number two, I actually do recommend that you watch the tell-all. It was very fun indeed.
I agree.
If you are not already, please go ahead and follow us on social media at My Best View Pod. Please make sure you are subscribed to us wherever you're listening to this right now. Give us a 5-star review, leave a comment, and tell your friends about us. We'd love to get more ears listening to us yap.
Never fear, we will be back soon with some other thoughts about this season, and we'll be back even additionally to already start talking about next season.
Yes, season 12 of 90 Day Fiancé. Cannot fucking wait. But you will be able to look forward to, as Sophie mentioned, some episodes in the interim. We're still working out exactly what they'll be on, but it will be something like, top themes of the season, and also taking a look at what drama has gone down between cast members since the reunion, because we do have the advantage of we're recapping this late, so I'm sure shit has gone down. We'll see if any of these people have broken up or anything like that. So we almost get to have a second reunion just between us. But we'll get to that after our break, and see you guys after in about 2 weeks.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.